What? I thought it fucking activated the entire... never mind. I was in a different window, and I thought it did the thing. But it didn't do the thing, and I shouldn't be surprised. What's going on, Hyperion? How you doing? Whoa, what's going on? How you doing? Cheese Sniffer, what's going on? So as as the title says, I'm late today, but for a good reason. My keyboard, I accidentally spilled some of my water on it, and it ended up fucking up the shift key. So, damn, ignore it. I just said hello. What do you want me to go? Haha, you said the great based attorney. Oh my god, that's so funny. Holy shit. That's hilarious. And I said hello. What's going on? Accelerator, what's going on as well? But yeah, I ended up getting a little bit of water into my keyboard, so I ended up having to clean that out. It's still not exactly perfect. It's acting like the shift key is stuck, so I'm gonna have to take it apart and clean it later on tonight. But I did have my backup keyboard, this old membrane boy. But we are back in effect, and we'll give everybody just a little bit to get in here before we do our, you know, our ceremonial recap of events. But yeah, it was weird. It was like, it was acting like the shift key was stuck. And I was like, okay, you know, this seems to be an issue like with sticky keys. I'll go ahead and disable. Oh, sticky keys can't be disabled. All right, it's probably filter keys then. It's thinking that the shift key is being held. Oh no. It just thinks something is wrong. So I ended up unplugging the keyboard, plugging in this new one, and here we are. Had to make sure everything was reconnected properly, and honestly, this keyboard is like mad quiet. I might continue using this keyboard. Gonna be an interesting trial with you know who is a prosecutor. Yeah, it's gonna be really fun beating his ass. I can't wait to smoke man's out his boots and him go, oh, I didn't realize you had it like that. I didn't realize that you were about that action.
Welcome to the family, son.
Here's a reminder for chat to take a sippy and stay well hydrated.
Kev, back for the 3 months. Welcome back to the family, brother. Appreciate it as always. Thank you for sticking with us, brother. And as he brings up a very good point, everybody should be staying well hydrated, unless you're my keyboard. Do not stay hydrated if you're my keyboard, because that's a thing I do want to prevent. Here to stay, fantastic. Also, what's going on, SM? I don't know if I said hello. A memesy, what's going on? Alright, now I feel like we've passed enough time. Everybody who's gonna be in here is in here. So, to recap last time, we were continuing on with case 4, which started off a little bit in a weird spot. We were kind of just walking around doing nothing, just seeing what's really going on, trying to figure out some more stuff about our friend, Mr. Kazuma Asogi, returning from the grave, being spotted in London as Lord Van Zeek's masked apprentice. And it feels like, you know, at least in the moment, rather, it felt like, rather, excuse me, that we were kind of just on this wild goose chase trying to figure out more things relating to the Professor murders, including seeing the return of both Professor Mikotoba and Jigoku to Britain for the start of the, what's that word? The Forensic Science Symposium that's being hosted here after the Great Exhibition. And with that, we are kind of we're kind of seeing the results of what happened 10 years ago, all that time. So looking towards the future, seeing the son of the professor being stripped of his memory due to convenient amnesia, I will say that it does seem a little bit goofy, a little bit of a silly goofy mood, if you ask me. And you know, finding out what's going on with that, looking a little bit more into it before we end up getting the report from Inspector Gina Lestrade that Tobias Gregson has been murdered. So going to his the scene of the crime, investigating around a little bit, and going to talk to our murder suspect, one Lord Baroque Van Zeeks. So with Van Zeeks saying that he obviously didn't do it, you know, he was a little bit begrudging to get our help, but seeing as we are so dedicated to the truth, all it took was just a little bit of convincing, and he is going to allow us to represent him in court. But as it stands, we do have to face off against our, I don't want to say childhood friend because I don't know how far back this goes, but our, as it stands, best friend, who is here to potentially learn more about his father's murder. So I hope we don't end up interrupting that. But here we go. Trial Part 1, Twisted Karma and His Last Vow. Also, Sholmes dyed his head red, or he dyed his hair red. Jesus Christ. Because he's a psychopath and wanted some money. I really hope that doesn't come into play soon enough. Red and then pale blue. Yeah, he's a weird guy. But what was one thing that I did forget to mention is before the murder case even happened, we got approached by one of the jurors from the last trial, Miss Evie Vigil, to end up looking for her missing husband, who she told us was the head warder at the Barclay prison. And upon going and talking to the what is it, the prison, was it governor? I think it was governor. That was his title, right? Mr. Barry Kaiden. Talking to him, we learned that her husband has been missing, or hasn't been the chief warder for Barclay prison for 10 years following the execution of the professor. So I assume that's going to come into play a little bit more too. Well, to what extent we're going to have to find out. But as it stands, it is the 2nd of November, 8:56 a.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Is that old familiar feeling again? The crushing pressure of this historical courthouse. Actually, no. It's a little different today. There's an even more menacing tension in the air. There is a menacing tension in the air today, isn't there? I suppose... This is getting bots now? Getting bots now? That's how I know you're a fake fan. Yeah, I think so. It can only be the result of the menacing appearance of the defendant. Little more courtesy, if you please. Oh my. I do apologize. However, I'm certainly not mistaken that this trial is far from ordinary. What do you mean? I'm not privy to the details, however, I understand that no jury has been selected. Oh. Interesting. A trial without a jury? Well, that's just like the trial of the professor 10 years ago. Closed court. Good morning, my dear fellows. Hello, Sholmes. I see your hair is back to normal. Mr. Sholmes. Have you made note of my hair, Mr. Naruhodo? An outright victory for science, you must agree. Well, I mean, I have made note of it. So, yeah, good on you. What's going on, Ghostly? Yeah, we did just start. To be perfectly honest, so much happened yesterday that, well... I completely forgot about your little hair problem. What to one man is a little hair problem is to another a day of drinking dubious potion after dubious potion. You have no idea how my stomach ails me this morning. Oh dear, how awful for you. I'm afraid you only have yourself to blame, Mr. Sholmes. And good morning to you, Mr. Reaper. I'm delighted to see you looking so full of vim. And are you? I see London's celebrated great detective is as active as ever. Oh, you exaggerate, my dear fellow. Compared to my paltry engagements with a few trivial cases, the Reaper's overbearing presence is a far greater deterrent to the Black Root's crime in our capital. And whilst I may not agree with your methods, there is at least one point on which I would readily commend you. What an honor. And that would be... your eye for a good lawyer, sir. Mr. Sholmes. After all, behind this lawyer there is a very great mind. I own. Shut up! What are you trying to say? I wish only to say that you should be prepared for quite a trial, Mr. Reaper. Sorry to barge in. Oh! Mikotoba and Gina. No. No, she got her badge. No. This is gonna be sad. No. Gina. What's that on her arm? It's a mourning band, I suppose. Oh, well, that's even worse. Father, shouldn't you be at the symposium? It's been postponed, so I have some free time. I decided to come along with the police inspector to see how our country's up-and-coming student in action. I should be very interested to see the fruits of your studies over the past year. Well, it's an honor to have you here. Let's hope there are some fruits to see. Pardon? Oh. Yeah, Gina? Why do you agree to this, eh? Why do you take him on? This Reaper bloke. Everyone says it was him what killed the boss. But you should know that if I defend somebody, unless their name is Magnus McGill, they're innocent, right? Like, we've got a perfect track record, except for that one. We got a good track record. You should know that he didn't do it, right? Come on, Gina. Sorry, Gina, but I just don't believe that. But if it weren't him, who was it? I don't know that yet. I don't care who calls him what. The Reaper's just a name. He's just a person at the end of the day. And if it turns out it was him what killed the boss, then God help him. Fiery eyes indeed. Yes, the corporate deserves every ounce of your loathing. At least that may be some solace to the deceased. Aw. Please, Otto. Get whoever did this for the boss. Well, Gina, I hate feeling this useless, but there's nothing I can do. So you've got to find who done this and make the wretch pay. Alright, back up. Counsel for the defense and the defendant. Court will be in session shortly. Make your way into the courtroom at once, please. Alright then. Here we go. It's time, Mr. Naruhodo. Lord Van Zeeks. One who lost his treasured brother to a mass murderer. One who lost his treasured father in a foreign court of law. And one who lost the man who helped her escape destitution. All that misfortune, that pain, of course to collide headlong in this trial. It's time to shine a light on all those dark events. Every truth is revealed. Going to have to look it straight in the eye. "22nd of November, 9:20 a.m., the Old Bailey courtroom. There he is. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session. We are here to conduct the fair and just trial of the defendant, Baroque Van Zeeks. Counsels for the defense and prosecution, are you ready to begin?" The defense is ready, my lord. The prosecution is more than ready. Oh, Kazuma. What's going on, Jay Xander? Been wishing to see you in court again for so long, it feels. But I never pictured it happening like this. Never thought I'd be facing you behind the prosecution's bench. The so-called Reaper of the Bailey has been a scourge like no other, undermining Her Majesty's justice system. Maybe if Her Majesty's justice system wasn't based on idiots. Excuse me. Kuramo, what's going on? Today we must uncover the truth behind this scourge. In other words, this trial is going to be a lot more far-reaching than Inspector Gregson's murder. The truths revealed by these proceedings may have unpredictable repercussions through the judiciary. Accordingly, they are to be conducted as a closed trial with no members of the public present, by Her Majesty's direct orders. Then who the fuck are these people? We got no jury, but whose niggas is these? How will that work, my lord? The burden of all arbitration and adjudication falls on my shoulders. Therefore, as you will see, the juror's bench shall remain vacant today.
No members of the public are present. Might I ask who is currently occupying the gallery, my lord?
Thank you, Susato. They are members of the judiciary here to witness the proceedings and ensure an equitable trial.
Members of the judiciary? Oh my. This is a very unusual trial already.
There is, of course, another, unprecedented aspect to these proceedings on which I must elaborate. The counsel for the prosecution and defense are both aliens of Great Britain. I believe it takes an outsider to see the truth sometimes. And as I stand here in this courtroom now, I'm quite certain this is the reason why I had to come to Britain. Kazuma? Very well. Let us commence our proceedings. Prosecutor Asogi, your opening statement, if you please. Certainly, my lord. The incident took place on the 1st of November, just after 5 o'clock in the afternoon. The location was a building on the flats of Fresno Street on the outskirts of the city. The victim's body was discovered there in an old single-room rental property. Yes, Inspector Tobias Gregson, a name known very well indeed to this court. At least for his miraculous resolution of one of this country's grimmest cases 10 years ago.
Professor Case.
How sure are you about the time of the incident? Several witnesses on the street outside heard the gunshot, and all have reported the same time.
That's what Gina told us, too.
There were a number of witnesses. I have here a plan of the room. The victim was found curled up in one corner. It's believed that he was shot from the front at point-blank range and died instantly. How has the range been determined? There were scorch marks around the entry wound. Such marks are caused by the gunpowder used to fire the bullet. But powder hot enough to leave scorch marks is only ejected a few inches beyond the end of the barrel. In other words, it only happens when the target is at a point-blank range. I see, yes. Thank you for the detailed explanation, Counsel. Alright. So our court record is actually surprisingly small. We have... Oh wow, it's bigger than I thought it was, but I guess that's because we have the stuff from the investigation about Mrs. Vigil's husband. And we got the newspaper for the redheaded lead. It's gonna be weird how these come into effect. And we also got the letter of introduction from Mikotoba. That is, that has the, travel details. I really hope that doesn't come into play. Framed photograph of Mrs. Vigil that was at the crime scene. A red-headed wig. That candelabra that looked like it was shot. Although, this thing saying it was shot, like, if it's having the scorch marks too, I wonder if they're gonna go, oh, well, this was shot at point-blank range then as well. That would be kind of interesting. We have this policeman figurine. If you twist the head, it causes a key to pop out. The murder weapon, allegedly. A photo that was from Gregson's office that shows Clint, Baroque, and Gregson. And now we have the autopsy report. And we got a new coroner. There we go. Maria Gorey. Oh, great. Nationality British. Time of death blank. Cause of death: victim was shot in the chest at close range from the front, resulting in instant death. Scorch marks at the point of entry. The bullet exited the body from behind. The caliber of the gun matches that of standard issue firearms for members of the judiciary. Okay, so we got... Okay, so they got the bullet. Allegedly, right? And they were able to say that it was the same caliber? Because it's very hard to tell caliber from a bullet wound, unless they're saying that it's this gun, right? We weren't able to examine this gun like at all. So, this is the type of revolver that's standard issue for the members of the judiciary, then.
Yes, and when I asked about whether the records are kept about who they're issued to, I was told that for the past 5 years they've been engraved with a unique serial number.
Oh, as far as I can tell, there's nothing like that on this gun.
Tells us that it must have been issued longer ago than that.
So we have a long ago issued revolver. We didn't really get that from before. So here, let me check the history real quick. And have you managed to ascertain the owner of this firearm? Alright, so for the past 5 years. So this is somebody who had the gun more than 5 years ago. If they got the bullet, then it would have showed in... They would have showed it in some form or another. Well, I mean, not necessarily. If the bullet is, like, fragmented, you know, like, a lot of bullets, for lack of a better term, especially jacketed bullets, right? The kind that would have been in a revolver at this time period, they don't stay whole when they enter a target, right? And they break apart. So they'll break apart and then they'll shatter, and usually you'll see this in stuff like in modern ballistics. You have things like hollow points, which do this very well, but even non-hollow pointed rounds can do this. Really, the only thing that like can stay together 100% of the time is a full. It's like a slug, right? Those will usually stay together, but like if the bullet is in some way jacketed, right, then it can break apart in the body or the target, excuse me. And sometimes it's kind of hard to figure out exactly if you have a full bullet or you got some pieces of some shrapnel of the bullet, you know. So if they had fragments, you would still be able to kind of tell what caliber of bullet it is, especially if you had, I was gonna say the shell casing, but if it was fired from a revolver, they wouldn't have the shell casing, would they? The one thing that's fucking me up is that we can't open up this revolver to see how many rounds are in it, right? But what's kind of also weird is the fact that we're pre-World War I trying to figure out ballistics, right? This is fucked. No, my lord, not conclusively.
Bravo, Kazuma. For not trying to use the gun as evidence when its provenance can't be proven.
Furthermore, my lord, as I've explained, the revolver was fired at extremely close range. The bullet passed through the victim and struck the wall behind him. There is a candelabrum mounted on that wall, and the tip of one of those candles in it was found to have been blown off by the projectile.
You noticed that too, didn't we?
Yeah, that's right. Thank you for the thorough report, Counsel. The setting of the crime is clear to me. You will submit the plan of the crime scene as evidence, please. As you wish, my lord. Is this Fresno Street room Inspector Gregson's private abode? No, my lord. The room is rented to a Mr. Hugh Boone. But there is precious little furniture inside and is generally in a poor state of repair. So what on earth was Gregson even doing there?
Presumably he was investigating some case or other.
When a policeman was informed of the gunshot from the witnesses and rushed to the scene, he found only the deceased inspector and the accused standing alongside holding the revolver. The attending officer arrested the accused on the spot. So, The details of the case are clear. In that case, the prosecution would like to call its first witness. We don't get an opening statement, man? Come on. Name, please, counsel. Naturally, the accused himself. Ozma coming out swinging. But I've been watching a lot of I don't know if anybody else does this or has done this in the past. I get a lot of pleasure out of doing this. It's like one of like my favorite things to just do. Late night when I'm trying to go to bed, like I watch like court hearings on YouTube. And you can find a lot of them. There's a lot that exists. Like sometimes it's the full one, sometimes it's just like, oh, this is like how to train people in law school, and it'll just have like key points for people to watch. But you can watch like entire hearings and entire court cases on YouTube, and that shit's low key. Like I find that shit super fun, right? I think that might be something I do when I become an old ass man and I can't do anything other than walk around and be like crotchety, you know. I'm probably just gonna go down to some form of courthouse and just listen to proceedings. What's going on, Jose KX? How you doing? Lord Van Zeeks? As a prosecutor, he believed in the oath of office he's taken and will be compelled to tell the truth. Very well. Let the defendant take the witness stand. Hey, Van Zeeks. So, witness, state your name and occupation for the court. Baroque Van Zeeks, Old Bailey prosecute. Usually it's in very poor taste to call the witness to testify unless absolutely necessary. You mean defendant? Because you can call, like, calling the defendant first is usually like, this is like the equivalent of like a Hail Mary. This is a fucking flea flicker. At least for Ace Attorney, right? Like, for Ace Attorney, this is a flea flicker. Kazuma's looking to shut his shit down instantly. I presume, Lord Van Zeeks, that you heard Prosecutor Sogi's opening presses. I did. It is alleged that you were found at the scene of the crime, and that you were arrested by the arriving police officer. Can you confirm this? Yes, my lord. I'm sure the court would like to hear you explain some things away. Namely, why you were there in the room on Fresno Street at the time in question. And what exactly took place. I intend to explain away nothing. I will simply tell the truth. Say, Lord Van Zeeks, never imagined this day would come. Or rather, I didn't want to imagine it would come. But since you became known as the Reaper, a part of me has been dreading it. Your formal testimony then, witness? Like, if you want to talk about, like, fucking poor taste and shit that shouldn't go on in a courtroom, like, Ace Attorney is, like, fucking, like, king at breaking so many, like, poor taste things, right? In most cases, calling the defendant is in poor taste, usually to avoid self-incrimination. That's why a lot of defendants will opt for the ability to use their Fifth Amendment, right? To just be like, yeah, no, I'm not saying shit. I'm not incriminating myself. The evidence can speak for itself. And then they come off the stand. And a lot of defense lawyers, at least from what I've seen, will tell their client, hey man, do you not want to say shit? Or if you want to make this really easy for me and you specifically, don't say dog shit. If they get you up on that stand, if they ask you your name, give them your name. They ask you what you do, give them your occupation, and then plead the fifth, get the fuck off the stand. The facts of the incident. I was investigating Gregson, and my inquiries had led me to that address. When I first entered the room that day, it was dark inside and I saw no one. A moment later, I heard the gunshot. spun around and saw the revolver on the floor. So was anybody else in there with you? Just as I picked the firearm up to examine it, the door flew open and I heard a man scream. Also, one more thing that's somewhat interesting to note is that this is a case where we're not going to be having any summation examinations because of the lack of a jury. We don't have multiple witnesses in the stand right off the bat. So is this going to be like... Is this going to be our standard, hey, this is Ace Attorney, go? Right? This is what you know? Because that would be pretty dope. I'd fuck with that. It was only then that the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. That testimony was the whole truth. It was. So, you heard a shot being fired in a room with no living occupants. And moments later, a corpse somehow appeared before your eyes. Is that it? You're right. You haven't explained away anything. In fact, that would barely qualify as an excuse. Did the first trial involve a jury? No, because both first trials take place in Japan for this game and the game before it. So they don't have a jury system. But it's usually because... And not usually, but I feel like for those cases, it's more of a... Hey, this is your tutorial on how to do the standard courtroom bullshit, you know, like this is how you press a statement, this is how you present evidence, you know. And then in chapter 2's, well, chapter 3 for the first game really, but chapter 2 for this game, they're like, all right, here's your jury, this is how they're going to interact, there you go, you know. I thought you were my mute apprentice. It turns out you have a way with words, Prosecutor Asogi. It would appear to be a singular tale indeed. Singular isn't the word. It's laughable. It's got into Kazuma. He's not behaving like himself at all. Yeah, the guy that we haven't seen for a year. Yeah, he's not behaving like himself. I wonder why. Very well then. Counsel, you may begin your cross-examination. Yes, my lord. Ooh, the Kazuma eyes. Alright, all of this seems fucked, though. So, what the fuck were you investigating? You were investigating the inspector. What on earth for? Not at liberty to say. Sorry? I identified a distinct possibility that Gregson was involved in a case I was investigating. Regrettably, though, he was killed before I could secure the proof I needed. Is the court to understand, then, that on the day in question, you followed the victim to the scene? No. I was privy to his movements in advance. How? I stole into his office at the yard and consulted his diary. The address on Fresno Street was noted in the 5 p.m. entry. Can we get that diary, eh? You illegally entered the man's office. In Japan, that alone would constitute a very serious offense. As it does in Great Britain, I assure you. Is that not the case, Lord Van Zeeks? I was aware of the possible consequences. So, in summary, you were investigating the victim, and yet, you refused to tell the court why. I didn't realize British prosecutors enjoyed such freedom to choose what to divulge under oath. Bro, Kazuma coming out the gate with haymakers. Can you calm it down over there, bud? Why did I ever think I could defend this man? Alright, it was dark and you saw no one. Had you ever been to the address before? No, never. I only learned of the place as a result of my investigation into Gregson's activities. There was no light when I entered, so it was all but impossible to make anything out. But at 5 p.m. the sun would have only just gone down. It would have still been reasonably light outside. The room has a window, but it is boarded shut. Very little light found its way inside the room from outside, so it was extremely murky inside. I wouldn't have noticed if the victim was already lying on the floor. There was no artificial light in the room, you say? You're quite sure? I'm quite sure that part of the room where the body was found was very dark. I have a feeling there was a small oil lamp burning on the desk, though I couldn't say for certain.
Look, Mr. Naruhodo. There is a small desk in the room just here.
Yes, you saw. We were there. That's where we got the picture from. Thank you, Susato. Yeah, I remember. And there was an oil lamp on it, as well as a framed photograph. When I entered the room, I closed the door behind me and started toward the desk to investigate. And what did you find? Nothing. I never actually reached the desk. A moment later, I heard the gunshot, spun around, and saw the revolver on... So you couldn't see him, but you saw the revolver? That's not a good look, bud. So, who fired the gun? I have no idea. I didn't see anybody else in the room. But you say it was very dark in there. Yes, that's right. All I can tell you is I didn't sense another's presence. Ah, then could it be that the gunshot actually originated from somewhere outside the room? No, that's out of the question. Oh. Without doubt, the sound emanated from inside the room. I could smell the gunpowder. This is going from bad to worse. And you say that's the point at which you noticed the revolver on the floor. Correct. I foolishly picked it up. That was carelessness on my part. Presumably, then, the gunshot you heard came from the firearm that you somewhat hastily took into your hands. In point of fact, my lord, I believe it did not. What? The barrel of the revolver I picked up was cold, and there was no smell of spent powder. But then, where on earth is the gun that was fired? Whilst I would like to oblige you with an answer, afraid I can't. I, too, would dearly like to know that. I picked up a firearm to examine it, the door flew open, and I heard a man scream.
Hold it!
A man, you say? One of the witnesses, I presume? That's right. One of the street merchants working on Fresno Street. Who are these merchants? A number of them have set up their stalls directly beneath the boarded window of the crime scene. A match seller, a newsmonger, and a peddler. They've all given statements saying they heard the gunshot. And without thought of danger, they ran inside to see what had happened.
Yes, Gina told us about that yesterday, didn't she?
They burst through the door with some force, it would seem. I don't know about you guys, and I'm not saying I'm a huge bitch, but unless I'm strapped up myself, if I hear a gunshot, I'm just gonna pretend it wasn't. That has shit to do with me, right? Like, oh boy, you know? Damn, that's crazy. Anyways, I'm gonna continue selling this newspaper. It's cool, right? Y'all got some gunshots going on up there. That's beyond me. It don't matter to me. They did, and almost gave me a heart attack in the process. But you're supposed to be the Reaper. First man to come immediately noticed the revolver in my hand and fled. Policeman patrolling on Fresno Street heard the commotion and was able to arrest the accused shortly after the incident occurred. Anyway, the man's scream drew my attention in that direction. It was only then the body of Inspector Gregson appeared before me. What do you mean appeared? Yeah, this seems like it was just ask everything. What do you mean by that? In what way did the body appear? I honestly can't explain it, but it's the truth. As far as I was concerned, the body hadn't been there until that point, and then suddenly, there it was. Did you perhaps hear the sound of the victim falling to the ground just beforehand? At that moment, what I heard was the sound of the door flying open and the scream of the man who came inside first. Nothing more. I see. After the man fled, I examined the body. I was stunned to find that it was Gregson. Most curious circumstances indeed. How the inspector was killed, or how his body seemed to appear out of nowhere. It was Gregson's gun, who else could it be? Well, I mean, the thing is, it's a gun that was issued to somebody in the judiciary 10 years ago. So it could be Gregson's gun, it could be Van Zeek's gun, it could be Strongheart's gun, it could be a lot of people's gun, right? We have no idea whose gun it could be right now. All we know is that it was issued to somebody who was part of the judiciary 10 years ago. Of the British judiciary, right? Unless Mikotoba or Jigoku didn't have to go through a check. Could this be Jigoku's gun? But that wouldn't make sense. He has no, or as far as we know, he has no involvement with Gregson. Although I do think that it would be weird that they would mention that he went through the, what's the word? He went through the travel process, the border, he went through customs without getting his bag checked, right? It feels like they brought that up for a reason, but I don't think it would be to bring a gun back, right? That doesn't make sense. No, because I was thinking, like, how else would that make sense, right? If he brought a gun back to Britain, whose gun could it be? And part of my mind went to, it's Clint Van Zeek's gun, right? But that doesn't make sense either, right? Because why would he hold on to the gun? I don't know. There's a lot of options. I don't want to lean too heavily on the Jigoku brought a gun from Japan, but it feels like they brought that up for a purpose, you know what I mean? I have no idea.
Objection.
Okay. Surely the court has heard enough. My lord, the cross-examination has clearly revealed that the accused, Baroque Van Zeeks, is lying on multiple fronts. New song, by the way, right? What is that supposed to mean? Good gracious, counsel. The defendant is lying, you say? In his testimony just now, he claims that he failed to notice the victim's body because the room was dark. That's correct. No, that's impossible. As proven by this candelabrum. How does that prove anything? Oh, whoa, typo, hold on. We got it. We got a typo. We got him. We got him. We got at least one. It you examine, which is supposed to be, I assume, if you examine the tip of the long candle, you can see it's been blown off by a powerful impact. One would assume that the projectile from the firearm passed through the victim and struck the candle. Or didn't struck the candle. I was gonna say candelabrum. Yeah, and there's his yeah, it's a leitmotif of his actual theme. This is pretty good. I like this. The problem comes when you consider the two candles, which are clearly of a different length. Yes, I can see that only the candle that appears to have been struck by the bullet is long. We could reasonably expect someone to have lit all 3 candles together. Which begs the question of why only one has ended up longer than the others. That must be because that particular candle was extinguished when the others were still burning. That's right. When the candle was hit by the bullet, it obviously went out. But the other 2 candles would have still been burning. So the fact is, the victim's body would have been illuminated by the light still thrown by the candelabra. And the accused claim that he couldn't see the body clearly contradicts those facts. And now to the next lie. There's more? The accused also claims never to have visited the scene of the crime before. That's the truth. In that almost empty room, the police discovered something very unusual. A board covered from top to bottom in police documents and newspaper cuttings.
Yes, that's right. We saw it too.
It goes without saying that the contents of the police documents cannot be divulged. However, they included a number of reports from various historical cases. The oldest of which was from 10 years ago. 10 years ago? This is starting to sound familiar. There's a common thread linking all of the documents on that board. Indeed? What is this common thread, Counsel? They all relate to cases prosecuted in court by Baroque Van Zee.
Yo, look at the smug. You get a smug pose, but I don't know if I'm gonna get a smug pose because I don't have a sword. You motherfucker. You don't need this one. Give me that one.
All of them?
Edgeworth has a similar pose. Yeah, Edgeworth has the tapping on the side of his temple, like the fucking roll safe one, right? That's one of, like, that would probably be in my top 3 of prosecutor, like, sprites, right? Top 1 for me is Edgeworth holding out his hands and shaking his head. That's my favorite. That is my favorite Edgeworth fucking, like, that gif is so good, right? Him just holding out his hands, just, you fucking idiot. Edgeworth tapping his temple is pretty good. I think Franziska doing the arm grab that Manfred used to do is pretty good, right? Her gripping at her sleeve is pretty good. Obviously, honorable mention to Clavier Gavin and his air guitar. The sprite of Godot like leaning on his elbow, coffee cup in hand. That's pretty good. Favorite Edgeworth animation is the smug shrug followed by, that's the one I'm talking about, where he like shrugs, holds his arms out, and then just shakes his head. That's my favorite. He's got his eyes closed. He knows you're an idiot. That's my favorite. But I don't think I have one from Black Quill or Nayuta. I don't think they have one that makes it into my like top 5. But I think yeah, all of the trilogy ones and then Clavier Gavin, those are my favorite. And furthermore, all those cases are ones in which the defendant was acquitted. Lord. Interestingly, none of those defendants are alive today, because all of them have been sent to their graves by the Reaper. Ah! Oh no.
In short, that dingy little room is the Reaper's secret hideout, and the base of his operations.
No. But that doesn't prove that he was there before.
The Reaper's hideout. And yet the Reaper would claim to have never been to his own secret hideout. No one would believe that. No. The truth is, we've been looking at this backwards. Backwards? Explain, Counsel. It wasn't Gregson that was staying there, it was Baroque. Inspector Gregson was investigating the identity of the Reaper. When he discovered the location of the man's secret hideout, he was killed. As I'm sure everyone can imagine, by the Reaper's hand. What? Order, order, order. Very well. I hereby state the current opinion of the court. Baroque Van Zieks is an outstanding prosecutor who has rendered great service to his country. However, it is with deep regret that I must concur with Professor Osogi's contention that the defendant's testimony exhibits a number of stark inconsistencies with the known facts. One thing that I will say, going back to the whole prosecutor animation topic that we were just talking about, while I don't think I have one that I really like for Black Quill, the one that I do like for Nayuta, right, is the fucking clap. The not anything else, is just the whole sequence of Kazuma cutting the what off the bottle? SNR, the what off? Oh my god. Autocorrect smoking you. Yeah, but no, that's pretty cool. Like him sabering the cork off and then pouring the drink and then Van Zieks just crushing it. That's pretty good. I would say that sequence is probably top tier. I would say Van Zieks might have like the third most that I like, behind Franziska, because while I'm not a huge fan of the leg up on the bench, I think that's like as funny and quirky as it is. I don't think it's super cool. TBH, IMO, my BFF Jill. But I do think that the crushing of the chalice, the throwing of the bottle, and the throwing of the chalice behind him is pretty good. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. And as edgy as it may seem when he's caught off guard and he's looking through his hand, that one's pretty good too. I think Van Zieks has like really solid animation. Which, I don't know, again, and this could be like with the progression of the series as a whole, or it could be like just coincidence that they gave him the coolest shit, you know, or like the most like blase shit. But I think like he, right behind Franziska von Karma, is like the top three animation wise. It's Edgeworth, Franziska, and Baroque, followed by Clavier, Nayuta, and then Black Quill. I just don't really fuck with Black Quill, I'm gonna be honest. All I have done is state the truth as I know it. Cosmo's done a brilliant job as ever. He's drawing on his experience as a defense attorney to build his prosecution case. And it's formidable. Counsel, we'll submit the board that you just showed the court as evidence. I believe it to be fundamental in establishing the facts surrounding the Reaper's existence. Thank you, my lord. Oh boy. Now, prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Which attorney has your favorite smug animation? Easily Edgeworth. Like I said, my favorite Ace Attorney animation, 100%, is fucking smug Edgeworth smiling with his eyes closed, shrugging his shoulders and shaking his head. Apollo's smug sprite is really good. If you're talking about defense attorney, right? Not just attorney in general, right? Apollo has my favorite animations, right? Because his desk slam is great, right? Apollo Justice's desk slam, like the fucking double-fisted, he's like right there and just, he's got a lot of oomph behind it. Mia's hair flip is great. Yeah, Mia's pretty good. Mia would be a good one. I think it would be Apollo, Mia, and then Phoenix,
right? Because Phoenix is hands on the hip. He's real proud of himself. You know, I love that one. That one's great. That one's the classic. All right. I'm just gonna assume this is all the same shit. There are details of a whole raft of cases dating back years on here, aren't there? This paper from 10 years ago is browning with age. Look. Out of interest, the most recent thing appears to be this newspaper cutting here. Oh. It's the same red-headed League advertisement that Mr. Sholmes had picked out. Do you remember? There was a red hairpiece at the scene, too. Was Inspector Gregson an exponent of the red-headed League, then? Oh. Fuck is that? Athena's desk slam? Athena's desk slam is pretty good. Like, her being, like, her getting, like, irritated, like, you know, one hand on the hip, the other on the bench is pretty good. Athena's got some great animations. Oh? What's this? Mr. Naruhodo, look. Yes, it's a smudge of some kind. In fact, it looks just like a handprint. The color, that's blood, isn't it? Oh dear, how disturbing. There's a bloody handprint on the backside. Ooh. Alright, but I assume that that is going to be it for us on this thing. Yup. It was going to be fucked if they made me have to pick out a specific spot for a specific article. Thankfully, they just gave it to us on the front. Here's everything. Alright. And now the prosecution would like to call new witnesses to the stand. Witnesses who saw events unfold on the day in question. They were mentioned in the previous testimony too, if you remember. Yeah, the street sellers who heard the gunshot and went running into the room. Who's got the best damage sprite? The best damage sprite, like, I don't know if you can consider this damage, like, it's not like, they got hit, but Phoenix's, like, in duress sprite, you know? Like, the one that, like, he goes into with his head down and his hands on his head, right? That one is fucking top tier. Like, when does it first show up? Does it show up in the fucking Madden guard case? Does it show up in 2.4? Does it show up earlier than that? Because Phoenix, like, going down into that fucking, like, hands on head, everything's fucked is so good. That one is great. I love that one. I don't know if that counts as a damage sprite, though. You know what I mean? Very well. Lead the witnesses in. The defendant may step down from the witness stand. Certainly, my lord. That little Red Riding Hood? Beppo! He's back. So, witnesses, state your names and occupations for the court. That's your lip? Nope. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, 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 nope. That's either Little Red Riding Hood or BB Hood over there. Names? We don't use names. Far too fancy for the likes of us. We're just free and easy. Sell what we like, live where we want to live. I give them all a vacant stare as they walk down Fresno and spin a few words into a verse for them. He be spitting? Beppo got fired and became a fucking, a SoundCloud rapper. That's hilarious. Ah. I'd be right in assuming that all three of you make your living by selling wares on the street. Everyone calls me Gossip. I sell jaunty little tidbits to passers-by, you know. Jaunty little tidbits. Absolute smasher for you, sir. Right up your ginnel it is. 6 pence is the price, not of any less.
Wait, you're actually trying to sell it to me now? Oh, come on, sir. Don't tell me you're not interested. I'm trying to figure out how the fuck I'm supposed to be sounding like, because it looks like somebody popped him in his fucking mouth, right? He's got a busted lip. Try the man.
Give him the money and see what it is.
Pay the man, counsel. All right. 6 pence it is.
You won't regret it, sir. It's so fucking hard. I don't know how I'm supposed to be doing this, right? Do I just put something in my lip, right? Like... Now, you got your listening ears on. Just between us, a young couple on Slate Street just had twins.
Is that it?
No, that's not it. It's gossip, isn't it? It wants to spread. But it's up to you and your mouth, of course. I've got more, you know. What another juicy one? 6 pence a piece it is, if you're curious.
I am curious, yes, about what's just going on under that fat bottom lip of yours. Namely, that unusual bruise or whatever it is that's poking out from under your collar. Oh, this guy got fucked up. I didn't even notice that he's got that like, somebody fucking choked him out bruise around his neck. Jesus Christ. This guy was getting fucked up. What about the next witness then? What name do you go by and what do you sell?
Me? I'm Venus. That's what everyone calls me. Funny, innit?
It's BB Hood. Oh, those are, I thought those were fucking shotgun shells. Jesus Christ. My God.
I sell these lovely little fireworks to all the local school kids.
You do what now? Hey, yo! Don't do that.
6 pence a pop. What do you say?
You weren't exaggerating with little. They actually sell?
Oh yeah, the second years can't get enough of my Venus firecrackers. Especially when I tell them that if they get 100, they could blow up the...
This is a fucking terrorist! Not the most savory of ideas, young lady.
What do you say then, eh? Let's part with 6 pence for a pop.
Wait, what? You want me to buy one?
Tell you what, I'll let you in on a little secret. If you get 100 of them, you could blow up the whole courtroom.
Try the woman.
Give her money and see if she's right.
Pay the woman, counsel. Alright, I'll buy one. Jesus.
Lovely stuff. Right, then, this is something a bit extra just for you. The Venus Special. Only 600 pence.
600?
It's 100 of my regular fireworks. Nothing little about that, is there?
And there'd be nothing little about the punishment if I blew up the Old Bailey, either. Did someone buy a fire? The body got moved there. The gunshot wasn't a gunshot, it was a fucking firecracker going off. So it would have to be somebody with a little bit of money to blow, right? Well, shit. And the last witness. What name do you go by and what do you sell? I'm a thinker, me. Think all sorts of thoughts. I think, therefore I am. I am, therefore I think. I think. Because I stand there on the street, watching the world go on about me. They call me the Observator. Get out of it, old man. Everyone calls you Sandwich and you know it. So, you don't actually sell anything? problem shared is a problem halved, as they say. I give advice, I do, and think what it means. I don't actually sell anything. No, come to think of it. Hot, actually, what does that fucking say? Pity. No more purchases today, please. They also coincidentally look like shotgun rounds, almost as the game is telling you this is how Gregson died. Maybe. I think them looking, or to me, looking like shotgun shells is a little bit more... It's a little bit more unfortunate, you know? Right? Because, like, if you don't... Like, a lot of people only think that shotgun shells come in red, right? You know? So people would see the green and be like, oh, well, it's a firecracker. Have you had an idea, Mr. Naruhodo? You're staring at the end of a string of fireworks. Sorry, it's just that it's the Venus special. I was wondering what 600 pence worth of fireworks would sound like. Shall we find out? What? But she said it could blow up the courtroom. Alright, that was a fairly sizable bang. My ears are still ringing, Mr. Naruhodo. It sounded almost exactly like... I'm gonna yell. Is this supposed to... Okay, so here's the thing, right? Could one of the candles have been a firecracker? Maybe. You know? Potentially. Any hoozle. Is helping my theory? I mean, the theory of what? Gregson not being shot in that room? Because I mean, I think that's pretty standard right now. I think that's what the game wants us to think. Right? That makes sense. They conduct their business on Fresno Street from morning until night, my lord. And always in the same place, directly adjacent to the crime scene. I see. Unless they heard the gunshot, I suppose. The firecrackers actually being the cause of death? No, I don't think the firecracker... I think the cause of death is straightforward. I think Gregson was shot. The only thing that I don't think right now is that he was shot in that room. Not only that, but they very bravely ran inside to see what was going on and witnessed the crime. Well, I'll be... Oh, excuse me. Well, I'll be figured, I thought. Just between us. Venus de Milo, what am I to do? What a terrible thing I saw. What I think is, if all what we see is light and shadow, playing with our eyes, is any of it real? Very well. The court will hear the formal testimony of these three witnesses now. You'll describe in detail what you witnessed and heard at the time of the incident. Yeah, no, SM, I think he was... I don't think this new prosecutor, or not prosecutor, this new coroner has any reason to lie, right? I would be on your side, right? If this right here said Coroner Courtney Scythe, right? I would be like, yeah, okay. But, we got a new coroner, so... COD is GS dub, so we're good. We saw the whole thing from start to finish. We did everything from the moment they went into... Okay. It was less than a minute after the Reaper had gone inside that we all heard a big bang. How the fuck can't you differentiate between a gunshot and a firework? Idiot. Seems to me that quick to talk is quick to walk. Gossip couldn't wait to go and see what had happened. I ran into the room and there he was, the Reaper gun in hand, standing over the dead body. Scared half to death me, so I ran off to find a copper. There's zero way the firecrackers weren't used to pin the blame on somebody else. Well, yeah, exactly. The firecrackers, like, that's super... I feel like that's pretty obvious. The firecrackers are used to make the... Because especially with us not having the time of death on the autopsy report, right? That makes it feel like 100% he was killed elsewhere and brought here, right? Or he had been dead in the corner for a while, right? What if he was dead in the corner for a while, somebody else would have heard the gunshot, so that makes me think he was killed elsewhere and brought here, right? If these witnesses were there the whole day and saw everything, who did they see going inside the building? Only the victim, Inspector Gregson, and the accused, Baroque Van Zeeks.
I seen pictures of that Reaper in the paper. I know what he looks like. And just between us, folks love stories like this. I made myself a tidy sum already.
But wait, the room was just one of several flats in the building. Someone from another flat could have done it. All those flats on Fresno Street are unoccupied.
Of course they are. They're small, damn dirty, and expensive to boot.
The room in which the inspector was found is the only property in the building that's currently leased. And we know the leaseholder's name, don't we? It's Hugh Bone. John Doe, yeah. The testimony the court has heard would appear to leave little room for doubt. It's becoming increasingly difficult to see how anyone other than the defendant could have committed the crime. No! Thank you for your candor, my lord. Counsel for the defense, you may proceed to cross-examine the witnesses. Yes, my lord. In a closed court like this without a jury, the judge is the only person whose opinion matters. I have to break down this testimony. Somehow. Alright, you saw everything that happened from start to finish, right? So go ahead, talk to me.
Hold it!
When you say they, who do you mean exactly? Inspector Gregson and the defendant, Lord Van Zeeks?
I suppose so. The likes of us don't know the names of the high and mighty. But I'll tell you just one thing. It was the old Reaper that went in last, that's for sure and certain.
Just behind Inspector Gregson. Did they arrive at the same time as each other?
No, not at all. The first fellow must have gone inside a good 15 minutes before we heard that gunshot.
The victim arrived 15 minutes before. Are you sure about that?
Am I sure? Am I sure? Does it seem likely that I had forgotten a fellow with bright red hair like that, does it?
Well then. Yeah, his hair really were red, weren't it? Redder than my flaming fireworks, even. That fiery red mop's still burning on the inside, burnt on the inside of my eyelids, it is. Wait a minute. You're saying the man was a redhead?
Weren't you listening, son? Aye, he was a redhead, and he had a big trunk with him as well.
Where's the trunk? Oh, that was Gregson. Excuse me. But Inspector Gregson's hair isn't red. Not by any stretch of the imagination. It seems likely the person you saw wasn't in fact Inspector Gregson at all, but some other third party. No, I hate to break it to you, but the witnesses are correct. What? Just have a look at this photograph of the victim taken at the scene. Damn. Now it's real. Now it's fucking real. Yeah, that's Inspector Gregson, all right. And a red hairpiece. Ah. Of course. We saw one on the floor when we investigated the scene, didn't we? I still refuse to believe Inspector Gregson wore a hairpiece, though. What the fucking thing is, though, right? Like, hold on, let me see if it says it in the court record. So, this wig, maybe it'll say it again, right? Maybe I can point it out. Yeah. You must have used lots of bird lime to keep it in place on your head. Bird lime is an adhesive, right? If you had to keep it in place on your head, right? It would rip his hair out. Maybe that's for like, haha, funny joke, but at the same time, right? If he was using bird lime, then it would have ripped his hair out. So is this Inspector Gregson's wig? Presumably. I'm thinking unlikely. So then why on earth would he have been wearing something like that? Color does seem to suit the man, one might say. The photograph will be submitted as evidence, please, counsel. Photograph of the victim has been entered. And what became of the trunk that the red-headed victim was supposedly carrying? I was informed that no trunk was found at the scene. So, it just disappeared.
What? You expect us to have been watching the building every second, do you?
You said you were watching it from start to...
Definitely saw him in the dock going in, though. No question about that.
Alright, so, and then I think the second to last one. Ran to the room and there he was, the Reaper gun in hand, standing over the dead body.
Hold it!
So then you were the first person to arrive on the scene. Is that right?
Oh, what?
Oh, excuse me.
I was, kicked the door open like a professional, I did, and yelled out, "What's going on off here?"
Lord Van Zeeks claimed to have heard all he heard was a man's scream, though.
Was it dark inside the room?
No, not dark at all. There was candles burning on the wall.
Really?
There was a fella collapsed on the floor. That's between us. It's the first thing I noticed when I got inside.
Ah. I see. Even though Lord Van Zeeks claims to have not seen any such lights on the wall.
Next thing I noticed was someone standing right beside the body.
The accused, Baroque Van Zeeks.
That's right, the pale-faced Reaper himself. I was a little shocked, I won't deny it, but I'm no lily-livered coward. I stood my ground and gave that— oh,
Beppo, what you got for me?
Excuse me.
You have something to add? Oh, I don't like calling him Mr. Sandwich. There's really nothing to me. Empty in the head I am. Just 2 slices with no that's not a sandwich. So I don't know what you could want with me. I think that maybe you just remembered something. Having heard Mr. Gossip's latest statement, I mean. What I think is, we're all nothings, really. We try to dress ourselves as something else, but at the end of the day, we're all just street sellers.
That's enough out of you, Sandwich. Keep the trap shut now. Unless you want us to make you into a real sandwich.
What does that mean? What the fuck does that mean? I don't like the phrasing on that. I'm gonna be honest. Not to Beppo. You leave Beppo alone. When he saw the Reaper, he fell clean over on his backside. Thank you, Beppo. That's it.
Oh, you rotten beggar. I told you to keep that a secret.
He screamed, he did. Screamed and scrambled off on all fours. That's what I wanted to say. Mr. Gossip, is this true?
The floor was dead slippery, that's why. Planted my hand in a filthy floor of blood, didn't I? Yuck.
What? A pool of blood? There wasn't a pool of blood at the crime scene, was there? I don't remember there being one.
Well, listen here. Even when I was sprawled out on the floor, I still kept giving that Reaper a cold, hard stare. Don't you forget it.
Let's just go back a little. Did you say you got blood on your hand?
I did. Happens to the best of our times, doesn't it? So I was scared. So I slipped over. We can just keep it between us, can't we?
The back of the board. Also, more importantly, the fact that blood wasn't only... More importantly, blood was also here as opposed to just over here, right? Either that or the board was moved. Interdast. No, Mr. Gossip. I'm going to have to ask you to add that information to your formal testimony.
Oh, if I must.
The witnesses will amend his testimony, or the witness will amend his testimony to include the aforementioned details at once. Wiped it off on the floor? Yeah, about that.
Objection!
Shut that bullshit up, you fat lip bastard. So you wiped the blood off from your hand on the floor of the room. Are you quite sure about that?
Well, what else you expecting this to have done, eh? Does it really matter?
Objection!
The police found no such handprint on the floor during their investigation. What exactly is the defense asserting? If you listen, you'll find out, Prosecutor Asogi. Oh. Certainly there was no bloody handprint found on the floor. What are you trying to say? There was a handprint in blood left very clearly at the scene. It's not smug, it's like determination now. Damn it. Because we don't have the sword? Man, fuck. On the back of this notice board. Yes indeed. Indisputably a handprint in the distinctive color of blood.
Oh, you're dead right. That's my right hand. I'd know it anywhere.
Objection!
Actual hero? That's what it says? Okay. The witness very definitively testified that he wiped his hand on the floor. Any handprints on the back of the board are irrelevant. Or don't belong to the fucking witness.
Objection!
Kazuma? Not if the board itself had fallen over onto the floor. In that case, it's quite possible for the witness's handprint to have ended up there. Just look at the floor plan of the room. The notice board was in the opposite corner of the room to the victim, and in an upright position. Even if it had somehow been toppled and was lying on the floor at the time. it would have been at a considerable distance from the body.
I fell over when I came across the body, so I was basically right next to the corpse, not on the other side of the room.
Okay. In other words, the defense's assertion is contradictory. Yes, it is. There's a very definite contradiction here, for which there must be a reason. I take it that you formulated a proper hypothesis, Counsel, regarding this apparent discrepancy between the witness's account and the handprint found at the scene. I have, my lord. This discrepancy between the witness's account and the location of the handprint is explained by the board moving. Another handprint. The real contradiction here is the handprint itself, not where it was found. As the court can see, it's upside down. There we go. It doesn't hit the same without him resting his hand on the hilt of karma. It doesn't hit the same. It's good, but to me, this is... It's like the other one was a fucking quarter pounder. This is just a quarter pounder. I'm used to the quarter pounder with cheese. You know what I mean? Like, this is okay. I'm not mad at this, but it's not what I know, right? It's very clearly... It's missing something. Something is off here. Gracious. So it is. If the witness had put his hand against the board, the finger should be pointing upwards. What does that tell us? It tells one simple fact. When this handprint was made, the board must have been lying on the floor as I previously suggested. Which means that after the incident, it must have been moved. What?
Objection!
You're claiming that somebody moved the notice board after the shooting. Then tell the court who. I don't know that yet. But the point is, when you consider all the testimony we've heard so far, we can now be very clear on one point. And that would be? The position of the notice board at the time of the incident, my lord. So, counsel, I must ask you to clarify your assertion for the court. At the time of the incident, where do you maintain the notice board was situated? Bing bop bang bop 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 bop.
Take that!
This is the only possible location. Immediately adjacent to the doorway. If the court would think back to the testimony given by the defendant earlier, he said that when he entered the room, it was dark, and he couldn't see the body.
Why, heck!
If the notice board had been here, the body would have been completely hidden from view, and the light from the candles would have been blocked, making the room appear darker.
Objection!
But the accused also claims that the victim's body simply appeared before him. That's true. Or, in his precise words... Ah, so they knocked the notice board over when they opened the door. What's going on, Kinro? How you doing?
I don't know about calling it the scream, but he was talking about me and no mistake. Because it was me that kicked the door open.
You dumb son of a bitch. If you look at the floor plan again... Consider what would have happened if the door to the room was thrown open with force. That can't. The door struck the notice board, knocking it over, and making the victim's body visible. Gracious! My client has told nothing but the truth. He has simply described what he saw. Order, order. Counsel, how has this not come to light before now? After the incident, somebody must have righted the board and moved it. into the position where the police, myself, and my colleagues saw it when investigating the room. Witness, what have you to say for yourself?
What? Me, my lord?
You and your fellows were there at the scene before anybody else. It goes without saying that you must know something about the position of the notice board. The witnesses in the stand will testify again. You will each explain exactly what you did upon arriving at the scene of the crime.
Stop looking over your glasses at me. I get the message.
We go again. Mystery of the moving board. Don't know anything about that there notice board. I just wipe my hand on it, that's all. Well, don't look at me. I haven't got a clue about it. I was doing business with them second years at the time. Wait, but didn't you go back? Yeah, you stayed in the fucking... The hell is going on? We're defending Van Zeeks? Yep, against Kazuma. I don't know anything about anything. I'm just a bystander me, just a sign at the crossroads of life. It was that Reaper, I bet. He's got a face that screams bored. I can't see how this changes anything anyway. The detective still died when we heard the gunshot. That's not necessarily true, and you know it, Beppo. So none of you can elaborate further. Shaken by the crime they witnessed and with only the light of a few candles and an oil lamp by which to see. We can't expect these witnesses to be able to give a more precise account of what happened.
That's right, yeah. Don't pay attention to... don't pay to expect too much.
It's man's endless quest for knowledge that's destroying the world. You're really fucking cold, Beppo. That's what I think. Do you? Really? In any case, as this testimony shows, even if the notice board was moved by somebody following the incident, it makes no difference. When the gunshot rang out, the accused was the only person at the scene. In short, the only person who could have possibly committed this crime is Baroque Van Zeeks. None of this wrangling over the board changes that simple fact. Quite so, quite so. Does the defense still wish to cross-examine the witnesses despite the circumstances? Yes. What? Oh, certainly, my lord. Very well, then you may proceed, counsel. Is fucking Miss Venus. Yeah, about that.
Hold it!
When you say you were doing business with them, you mean you were selling them fireworks?
Ah, what else? There's the Priory School just around the corner, see? Those cheeky little so-and-sos have got a plan to blow their school to kingdom come.
Aye.
So I've been telling on them, letting their teachers know what they're up to.
Oh, you have?
Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to get hurt, so I let the school know the kids are playing with dodgy toys. Then, praise the Lord, the teachers take all the fireworks off them. And then, praise the Lord again, the kids all come back to me to buy more. Everyone's happy, see?
You are running a racket, yo. Actually, good job. Gotta give it up to her. You know what I mean? Fucking, I'm selling them fireworks, having those fireworks get confiscated, and then selling more fireworks. That's a fucking, yeah, you got it. I salutes, you got that. What a racket.
Of course. And sometimes the teachers give me a little bonus to thank me for letting them know. It's a busy old life selling explosives.
Venus is a guileful goddess indeed.
Well, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing, really. I'm ever so good at it.
Beppo! I knew we could count on Beppo. Let's go, Beppo!
Excuse me.
something wrong, Mr. Sandwich.
If I said it was, could we just leave it at that? Would that be the end of it?
No. Did Mrs. Venus' statement just now bring something to mind, perhaps? So we just throwing explosives in a courtroom now? I've been throwing explosives in the courtroom. My dick bomb.
Philosophical thoughts. Deep philosophical thoughts.
Huh?
Let's say there was a great liar. And that great liar said, without batting an eye, telling barefaced lies is kind of my thing. I'm ever so good at it. Would those words of hers be a lie too? Or the truth? In which case, she's not a liar. Oh, it's a hellish paradox, that one. Don't you think?
Yeah, if you say you're a good liar, are you telling the truth? Interesting. I'm not entirely sure, to be honest. But it seems to me you're suggesting Miss Venus has been lying. Are you?
Come on, Beppo.
What are you on about, old man? Trying to cause trouble, are you? Keep on like that. And I'll wrap your whole body in firecrackers and set them off. That'll give you something to tremble about. Judge? Judge, you wanna tee off on this one?
You have a startlingly disturbingly mind behind that sweetness and face, young lady.
So Miss Venus has lied in her testimony. Is that what you're saying, Mr. Sandwich?
I don't want to call him Mr. Sandwich. His name is Beppo. I'm just. Anytime I see Mr. Sandwich, his name is I'm just gonna say, is his full name Beppo Sandwich? Well, if it means I'll be burning in hellfire for the rest of my days, so be it. Yes, that's what I'm saying.
Can you elaborate, please, sir?
Old Blabbermouth here headed for the room where the gunshot seemed to come from. But there was somebody else who crept up the stairs behind him, too. That's right, that rotten liar over there.
Do you mean to say that you did in fact betake yourself to the scene of the crime after all? What did I tell you, eh? I said I was good at telling barefaced lies, didn't I? Yeah, you mentioned it. Well, that revelation rocked the whole courtroom, didn't it? New firecrackers pack such a punch. You should, actually. So you did indeed visit the scene of the crime, did you, young lady? Good grief! Well, now you come to mention it. I suppose perhaps I do clearly remember climbing the stairs to the room, yeah. Either you clearly remember it or you don't. Well, I shall consider a fitting punishment for this perjurious act later. For the time being, you will immediately amend your testimony to reflect the truth. Oh, yes, my lord, of course. Give a little peek into the room where it all happened. Goddamn. Maybe say that next time, you simple bitch.
Hold it!
Make a habit of lying, do you, Miss Venus? Well, I suppose so. I don't really know, to be fair. If you want my advice, though, I take everything I'd say with a big pinch of salt. So get the fuck off the witness stand! Alright, but You did in fact go to the room where the victim was killed on the day in question, didn't you?
Oh, please, as if I would. I can't think of anything more terrifying.
The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then. I mean, a girl my age is curious about stuff, you know.
Did you touch anything at the scene?
Oh, please, as if I would.
I'll be honest, we're all liars. Yeah. Kanye West type beat.
I mean, there was a dead body on the floor.
The truth, please.
Well, alright, just a bit then. I had to look to see if there was anything I could sell. So I give the place a once over, but it was nothing to write home about.
Right. Now I hesitate to ask, but you didn't move the notice board by any chance, did you?
Oh, please, as if I would touch anything like that. Just a few bits of loose change is all I had.
The truth, please.
All right then, I thought there might be something worth having underneath it. So I blasted the flippin' thing. Sorry, flip the blasted thing.
You're telling us that you did move that board.
I think that did slip out, didn't it?
What? You daft ballfart! I don't believe it. The girl doesn't think.
So, did you find anything then? Something that you might have taken, perhaps, to sell?
Oh, please. Should be so.
The truth, now!
I might have found this old pocket watch under the notice board, I suppose. But a bit of junk like this can't be worth much of you. Ah! So it was you, was it?
You're the one who took it. Gina? Young lady, may I remind you where you are?
That watch there. That was a present to Inspector Gregson from the yard for a big case he solved 10 years ago. The Professor case, no doubt. Boss used to wind it up every evening without fail when he was waiting for his grub to come at the pub.
I see.
Swiped it off him once and he was blimey he was upset. He gave me a right earful. Said he hadn't missed a day in the last 10 years polishing it and winding it. It meant the world to him, that watch did.
Possibly not the best thing to go diving for, then.
It's not all that, though. I took it to Jabez's that night to ask how much it was. But the old dealer wouldn't touch it. Wouldn't give me a penny for it. Said it wasn't working. Knocked about and worthless, he called it. Ugh. I knew I should have lifted it.
That watch must be submitted as evidence at once.
Oh, please, just so long as you promise to give it back when we're done.
Yo, can I borrow the revolver and evidence just like for a split second? I promise to give it right back, right? Just for a split second.
A chance! I'll swipe it from you if you try to get your grubby mitts on it again.
That's enough. Hand the watch to the bailiff forthwith. Now, children, watch your manners. Lord! Glass appears to be broken. More than likely, it shattered when the inspector was shot.
It doesn't tick anymore, either. Which is why Jabez didn't want it. What a waste, eh?
Yes, indeed. It appears to have stopped at the hour of 5. Exactly when the gunshot was heard, then.
Which supports the prosecution's claim, of course.
Now, am I going crazy? Or did they do this before, right? Am I thinking... Because I'm thinking that, like, 5 a.m., not 5 p.m., right? You know what I mean? But did they do this before? Am I crazy? The clock being broken, being indicative of the time of death. I'm not crazy, right? That happened? Wasn't that the first case of the first game? No, that was... Well, I mean, the clock was off, right? They did that in Danganronpa. Okay, that's probably what it was. Because in the first case, right, with Frank Saw It, right? What happened was the lady didn't reset her clock after traveling, right? Yeah. But I was talking more specifically about, like, oh, the clock was like, the clock says this time, so it has to be it has to be this time instead of 12 hours before, right? The clock wasn't broken in case 1 of game 1, it was just off. I am aware, the fucking thinker clock that Larry Butts made. I know exactly what you guys are talking about, don't get me wrong. I'm right there with you, mentally. But it's not the same, right? The guy Dahlia killed in 3-1? Was that? Surely not. No, it was, right? When she pushed him into the fucking live wire, right? His clock was off though. It wasn't like a 12-hour difference. So I guess that would be close, right? That's probably what I'm thinking of. Become banned? Yeah, I forgot about that too. Anyway. Well, it would appear that the mystery of the moving notice board has been solved at least. And as predicted, it had very little bearing on the case. Whoops. I hate that when I click back from people, it brings me all the way out. Yep, 5 on the dot. The glass over their face is really badly cracked. Look. What a shame the inspector clearly looked after it so carefully. I imagine Mr. Sholmes could repair it, don't you? Yes, I should think so. He's very adept with things like this. A useful man to have around, in fact. But kindly remember that he's a great detective, Mr. Naruhodo, not an odd-job man. Thank you, Usato. There's a tiny little stub sticking out from this small hole here. Look, that's how you wind it. I suppose there must have been a little knob or something on that for setting the time. In that case, seeing as we know the inspectors took such good care of this wash, it probably broke when the incident occurred, didn't it? Yes, of course. Which could mean that there's a small part of the watch still at the scene, maybe. Or in someone's pocket or some shit like that. Alright. Well, oh! Wait a minute, hold on. Alternatively, if it needs something like a... Hurry up, hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. Something of a winding key. A tiny key, we don't know what it's for. So where... there's a tiny little keyhole here. Can you see? Yes. It's probably for the winder used to wind up the mechanism. Looks a little unusual, don't you think? Yes, you need just the right key to wind it, I imagine. Why do I feel as though I've seen something? Something a bit like a key that's about the right size to fit in this hole. It would be wonderful if we had the key. Let's check carefully over what we've already found. Do I can't combine shit, right? So... Well, this is now not checked. Okay. Ah, what's that? It appears to be some sort of key, but it's tiny. Da 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 da. Mrs. Sato, do you think perhaps this key could be the key for Inspector Gregson's watch? Only the Edgeworth games you could combine shit? Yeah, I wish they bring that back, right? That's such a good feature, right? Combining evidence. Damn it, man. I really wish I could do that. Knew it. A perfect fit. And look, the Inspector's watch has started going again. Or started going again. Ah, so it has obviously just not been wound up. That's all. What is it, Mr. Sato? Well, if the watch isn't actually broken after all, I have a feeling it could have profound implications. She's deep in thought now. Perhaps I'd better start thinking deeply too. Okay, so scratch the it was 5 a.m. He just didn't wind it the previous night, right? It didn't break at the time. He just didn't wind it up. I hate when we get convenient. Okay, fuck. I was not looking there. Get me out. Thank you. All right. He just didn't wind it up at the time he normally would have, which I guess is exactly at 5 o'clock. That's fucking crazy. Now then, continue with your cross-examination, please, counsel. Gregson got. Do you motherfuckers just not watch the stream? I have to be honest. Like, what did you guys miss, right? Like, this was like 2 streams ago. Alternatively,
Hold it!
not press here, fuck. I've missed a few streams. Hey man, we got VODs. I'm gonna start highlighting them too. It was 5 o'clock in the afternoon that you all heard the loud bang, wasn't it? Maybe the notice board fell over, or maybe it didn't. Maybe I fell over, or maybe I didn't. The Reaper's fate is sealed either way because of that gunshot we all heard. So your fate's sealed too. My fate? That's right. The defense is fated to lose, and the prosecution to win. In other words, it all hinges on that single gunshot. Now, Kinro, it is not your fault. Don't think it is your fault. However, you are like the 4th person to say, what? Gregson died? They got Gregson? It's just weird to me that everybody is so invested, but they don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? It may be possible to change all our fates. Of course. None of that changed the fact I heard what I heard, does it? Not much to go on. As you pointed out, Mr. Naruhodo, there's no question that the notice board was moved, so somebody must have done it. But it did happen after the event, so maybe Kazuma is right and it's not relevant to the case. It seems to have been deliberately positioned so as to hide the body from view. I feel sure that there's some deeper significance to all of this. He didn't die. Okay, if you don't know what's going on, I'm not gonna recap the entire game. You gotta go watch the old VODs. Quote. Yeah, I know what you mean. I've no doubt there are more clues to be uncovered.
On the right track, I can feel it, so follow your instincts.
Alright then.
Alright.
Objection!
I'm afraid that's not necessarily the case.
Oh!
At the scene, we found this key to the winder of the inspector's pocket watch. Key. And having wound the pocket watch, we discovered that it in fact still works. You see, the watch didn't stop because it was broken at all. And that fact completely undermines one of the most fundamental premises on which this entire case has been built. What? Order, order, order. But, Counsel, the watch was stopped at almost exactly 5 o'clock.
Yeah, which is just when we heard that gunshot.
It is exactly the hour.
The time that was shown on the watch tells us nothing, other than when it wound down. It's merely coincidence that it happened to be exactly at 5 o'clock.
Objection!
Even if that's true, the 3 witnesses here all heard the gunshot at 5 o'clock. So that's obviously when this crime was committed.
Objection!
No, that doesn't hold. Why not? Recall what Inspector Lestrade said only moments ago. The victim was in the habit of winding his watch once a day, in the evening. We can reasonably assume, therefore, that he wound the timepiece on the evening before he died as well. Yes, that would be entirely reasonable. But if that's the case, you wouldn't expect the watch to have completely wound down by 5 o'clock the following day.
Oh,
How do you explain it then? In summary, the evening before the day of the incident, when the gunshot rang out in that room, the inspector was already unable to wind his watch. You can't mean. What would stop a man winding his watch if he's been in the habit of winding it every single evening for 10 years? The obvious answer is that he was already dead. Order, order! Counsel, that is a most extraordinary claim.
Objection!
Extraordinary isn't the word. It's absurd. You claim he was already dead the night before. Do you really think that Scotland Yard's coroner would have overlooked something like that? Well, look at the fucking autopsy report where that doesn't list time of death. You fucking mook.
On that subject, there is something rather surprising. There's actually no omission in the coroner's report.
Susato is asking and addressing the proper things.
Time of death is not noted.
That's right.
wait a minute. You're forgetting that my legs went from under me when I kicked the door in.
What do you mean?
Like I said, I planted my hand in a dirty great puddle of blood.
Yes. So the victim's blood hadn't dried. It was fresh.
He catches on fast, doesn't he?
Objection!
But that blood could be explained in any number of ways. It could have been put there afterwards. Some fresh blood could have poured out over the victim.
Objection!
Does my learned friend think that fresh blood is available on every street corner? Learned friend? Ah.
Well, it needn't necessarily have been human blood, of course. We've been told previously that Scotland Yard has no way to identify blood as human.
The problem is currently being researched. At present, you are correct. It lies beyond our abilities. So then, a chicken's blood could have been used, for example.
It's certainly a possibility that it wasn't the inspector's blood at all.
Objection!
But the gunshot was heard at 5 o'clock in that afternoon. That's beyond question.
Is it, though?
What?
Given that the time of death the victim has already been called into given that the time of death of the victim has already been called into question, isn't it beyond the realms of possibility? It isn't beyond the realms of possibility that what these witnesses heard wasn't a gunshot at all. Oh, please, what are you trying to say?
I just don't know what we heard, and it was a loud ring that came from that there room.
Now you listen to me. A street seller's ears are his livelihood.
I don't doubt your ears, sir, but all you can state with certainty is that you heard a noise.
Explain yourself then, counsel.
A noise that sounds like a gunshot could have been made with... We're all fucking stupid. Beppo still got that whip on him? Yeah, man. Gotta have something.
Take that!
Something like this. The culprit could have set off one of these to fake a gunshot.
Gracious! The very fireworks that are sold by the witness.
Hold on a minute. Are you saying I did it? The pretty little firecrackers only make a little pop anyway. See? Not 100 of them together. The Venus special that you sell for 600 pennies sounds like this. As the court can now attest, it sounds very much like a gunshot, in fact.
You're trying to suggest that somebody set one of those fireworks off at the scene.
I'm suggesting that somebody knew the defendant was in the room at 5 that day, and sought to implicate him by creating a sound like a gunshot for these peddlers on Fresno Street to hear.
Objection!
But even the accused himself has testified that he saw no one else in the room at the time. Whether it was a gun or a firecracker, the only person present to cause that bang was Baroque Van Zeeks.
One whiff of a match and my firecrackers go pop. See? It's why people like them.
I fear for your fingers, young lady.
Objection!
Recently, during my time here in Britain, I've learned of a very useful invention indeed. Something called a time bomb.
Heavens! A time bomb?
Yes, a device that allows you to blow up whatever you like, whenever you like. Mr. Naruhodo, I worry that your unfortunate phrasing there may lead to yet another international incident. No. Wait. It's whenever you like, Park. That's important.
Time device.
Yeah, exactly. A time device. Something of that nature could have been planted at the scene. A device that was able to produce the sound of a gunshot long after the culprit had left.
Your extravagant claim will have to be substantiated with evidence, counsel. What proof do you have to suggest in any way that a time device was employed to create the gunshot sound?
Take that!
As the court has already discussed, the tip of one of the candles in this candelabrum has been blown off.
Indeed, because it was struck by the bullet which presumably passed through the victim.
I don't think that's possible, my lord.
Not possible. Why?
Because of the scorching. There are gunpowder scorch marks clearly visible on the broken candle.
There are? Goodness, yes. But is it not the case that there was also scorching on the victim in the bullet entry wound?
That's right, there was. But as we heard earlier, scorching like that only occurs when the target is at very close range, a matter of centimeters from the gun. Which means that the scorching on the candle can't possibly be the result of a gunshot.
You're suggesting it came from the fireworks.
How can that be, eh?
The fact that there's such visible scorching on the candle suggests that the fireworks must have been right next to it when they exploded. Or to put it another way, when the candle and firecrackers were joined together,
The culprit somehow attached the firecrackers at a point partway down the candle. And the killer had left the scene. The candle slowly burnt down along with the other two, until eventually it ignited the fuse of the firecrackers, generating a loud bang. And that is how these three witnesses came to believe they heard a gunshot at 5 o'clock.
Well, what a plot.
And this implies that the victim could have died earlier than we've been led to believe. The previous day, even.
Now, just hold your horses. All those lots here saw the victim going into the building, remember?
I couldn't forget that flame-colored hair, even if I wanted to. The person you saw entering the building wasn't the victim at all. Consider this.
Ah,
Obviously, anybody can wear a wig. So the person that these witnesses saw entering the building 15 minutes before the incident occurred could easily have been someone else entirely wearing the red hairpiece.
Someone else? Do you mean to say?
It was the same person who contrived the firecracker trick. In other words, Inspector Gregson's killer. Oh, very impressive, Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Kazuma? I'm really quite amazed you've come this far. But after all, wasn't I the one who told you that you had all the makings of a great defense lawyer? I also noted the lack of time of death in this report. A stark omission. But as far as I'm concerned, this whole country's justice system leaves a lot to be desired.
Welcome to the family, son.
Mike Wahlberg back for the 2 months. Welcome back to the family, brother. Appreciate it as always. Glad to have you back. Order, order, order. Prosecutor Asogi? What on earth do you mean by that statement? I hear that many of the leading members of Britain's judiciary are present to observe this trial today. So we cannot allow even the slightest doubt to be overlooked. The defense's assertion about the time of death based on the victim's watch stopping is just conjecture. But, while the possibility exists that my learned friend may be correct, we do have a duty to explore it. Well, certainly I would agree with you. What's going on, NC Hammer? How you doing? Did we hear this earlier on in the suit? This is the prosecution theme for Kazuma that has a leitmotif of his theme like played inside of it, which is really good. And what immediately comes to mind is, of course, what was Inspector Gregson doing, and where did he go on the day before the incident? Do you know? The inspector always carried out his investigative work alone. His movements were treated as confidential within Scotland Yard. And within the yard? Of the streams, only watch, listen at night on Grave, but I wanted to support. Thank you very much, Mike. Appreciate it, brother. However, considering the evidence we've been presented with so far, I'd say it's fairly apparent that what case the man was pursuing. Wouldn't you, my learned friend? I do have a feeling about what case he might have been investigating. Why does this man need 2 swords in a court of law? Because he stole one from us. I'm still pissed. I deserve at least one. I agree. Surely.
Welcome to the family, son.
And it's a hammer with a gift to Strumboid? Strumboid? Thank you very much, Hammer. Appreciated. But yeah, no, he took 1 sword from us, and he had one because he had amnesia, but he didn't realize that he still knew how to use this. I don't know. He took the sword back because that's his family sword, but he doesn't need the other sword. And we have a very cool, like, I'm proud of myself, cocky pose that we did. I just want my sword back. To be perfectly honest, I want one. If he's not using the other one, I want that.
My lord, the defense believes it can explain to the court the case that was being investigated by Inspector Gregson at the time of his death. Very well, counsel. Present your argument to the court. What evidence is suggestive of the case being investigated by the inspector on the day prior to the incident? Well, it was gonna come up sooner or later, I guess.
Take that!
I believe this red hairpiece points to the answer. You might assume it was part of a disguise used to carry out an undercover investigation. Surely not. Such a bright-colored hairpiece would only serve to make the inspector more noticeable. Yes, that's quite true. It would definitely have made him stand out in a crowd. Except, that is, in a crowd of gentlemen from the Red-Headed League. The Red-Headed League? So, you'd already worked it out. What on earth is all this about? Is there such an extraordinary league of gentlemen? It's funny, get it? Extraordinary. The Red-Headed League is currently under investigation for a grand deception. Deception of what nature, counsel? They'd been targeting red-headed men all across London and tricking them out of small sums of money. 2 men were arrested for the misdemeanor only yesterday, in fact. My lord, the defense calls for those 2 men to be summoned at... Oh, it's the fucking idiots that broke into Sholmes' house. 2 redheads? Inspector Gregson clearly infiltrated the Red-Headed League using this hairpiece. So it's very likely that he had direct contact with these criminals. And it's quite possible that such contact led to more serious events. I concur that we cannot in good conscience leave this new avenue unexplored. Well done, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, it's another possible line of inquiry for us, at the very least. The prosecution will make immediate arrangements for the charged men to appear. Bring these 2 Red-Headed League conspirators before me, Prosecutor Asogi. And once, my lord. Very good. We'll have a 30-minute recess. Court is adjourned. Oh, really? I didn't expect to get a TBC here. Although with Cosmo's theme playing in the background is very nice. Heading out so I'm not spoiled as I'm an episode behind, but hope you enjoy. Have a great stream. Thanks for coming out, Mike. Hope you enjoy the VODs. Tonight I'll be compiling all of them into what is the word? That damn ham. I'll be compiling them into a collection so all the games are archived on the channel. So don't worry too much if you are a little bit behind. 2nd of November, 12:33 p.m., the Old Bailey Defendant's Antechamber. Oh, there you are, Otto. What kept you, my dear fellow? Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Gina? You sure about what you said in there? That the boss, you know, actually died the day before? It's pretty hard to swallow. Yes, I was shocked by the revelation too, Gina. As was I. Possibly more shocked than the both of you. It's not a competition, Mr. Sholmes. I was more shocked than all of you put together. This is the autopsy report in question, is it? It's strange that there's no time of death noted. I suppose there's a simple explanation. Or perhaps it was a deliberate omission. Oh dear. If it was deliberate, it puts me in mind of the last case we worked on, and Dr. Scythe. No. Anyway, it seems on that day before Lord Van Zeeks discovered his body, Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League. So, perhaps something happened with them. Come to think of it,
You had trouble with those League men too, didn't you, Mr. Sholmes? You were taken in by their trick. No. Naturally, I wasn't taken in as you put it. My sleuthhound interest was merely piqued slightly by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. And that scent masked the underlying scent of deception, I suppose. The two criminals in question are the pair we saw being arrested yesterday, aren't they? Mr. Sholmes' suite, I mean. That's right, Suze, and it was me who took him in. Thanks to a tip-off by a good law-abiding citizen. Indeed, yours truly. So it's going to be that pair in the witness stand next, is it? Oh, I fucking realized that I get to do more of the fucking video game translation sanction I cook at a meatball. Something doesn't quite make sense to me, though. The day before Inspector Gregson was found, you hadn't trouble with the Red-Headed League yet, had you? How had the Inspector been investigating them? Well, the likely explanation would be that Gregson's own sleuthhound interest was piqued by the rare scent of a weekly £4 income. Don't tar him with the same brush as you, Sholmes. Yeah, well... And there's the whole issue of Inspector Gregson being investigated by Lord Van Zieks for some reason. The Reaper, the Red-Headed League, Inspector Gregson, Lord Van Zieks. And Kazuma. I feel as though he knew we arrived at this point somehow. Gosh, I think you're right. What's he really trying to achieve here today? All the answers will soon be revealed. Observe the time, my dear fellow. This recess will be over very shortly. Yeah, you're right. Kazuma was determined that he should be the one to prosecute this trial. And he was determined that I should take the defense. Just what is it that he's hoping to make me see, I wonder? I get the feeling we're a long way from the end of this trial yet. Are you ready then, Mr. Sato? Yes. Well, there we go. Kazuma worked pretty fucking fast. 2nd November, 1 p.m. The Old Bailey courtroom. I like how the music cut out when Sholmes spoke that folly. It does that sometimes. When he says something stupid, the audio just cuts. It's pretty good. I like it. Hey, Van Zieks. In the name of Her Majesty the Queen, I hereby declare this court to be in session again. We resume the closed court hearing of Baroque Van Zieks, here present, who stands accused of murder. Now then, Prosecutor Asogi, my lord, have you summoned the witnesses as requested? Yes, the two members of the Red-Headed League who planned and carried out the deception. They arrived not long ago from the local prison by police carriage. Very good. Bailiff, usher the two men into the courtroom. That's not real. No. No. He's not fucking eating spaghetti on the stand. These two men are currently being held by the police on suspicion of an attempted extortion. You may omit your occupations, but state your names now for the court. I am Fabien de Russo, a descendant of the great Russo family from Nice in France. And my name is Peppino de Rossi. I am the third son of great Familia de Rossi, the landowners from Napoli. The two men first became acquainted at a boarding school for European nobility. Was also graduated from Temsica as the future leaders of Europe. But, do you have any idea how boring it is to be born with noble blood? Alors, I make it my mission to get the better of the world by employing the little grey cells of my brain. That is all I'm really trying to do, huh? So, that's the only reason for this whole grand deception you've been carrying out. Oui. You could say that.
Not bad, eh? He has the grand ideals but the petty plans. This strange combination is the charm of the hilarious brothers. See, couple?
There was food brought in by that one woman in Rise from the Ashes. Yeah, that's true. That case is... the more that I hear about the Ace Attorney fandom, I hear more people don't like Rise from the Ashes. I don't know why. I think that case is pretty good. Yeah, and there was that little juror that was eating corn. So, not too crazy that he's eating spaghetti. However, his short is way too fucking small for him. Fat bitch. Listen to me, Pepino. I have two things to say to you.
Eh, che? Are you about to tell me one of your grandi anecdotes? And viva!
Firstly, I want you to stop calling me this capo. And secondly, we're not the hilarious brothers. This is serious business.
Chibello, there it is! The capo's trumpa card! The furrowed brow! It is deep, oh capo.
The furrowed meaning of your words. The court has been led to believe that under the banner of the Red-Headed League, you have conspired to swindle money from unsuspecting members of the public. Is this true?
Oui, c'est ça.
And what exactly was the nature of the deception by which you planned to defraud?
Lord, I will explain it. No, capo, leave it to me. As you see, we both have the vivid red hair, no? At school, we were teased for this without pity. A capo here, he was many times behind the schoolhouse, crying like the Trevi fountain. Those dogs! One day the world will respect those redheads. Every night he will bury his head in his pillow and weep for injustice.
C'est bien, Pepino. Enough. I will explain the rest. The first step was the newspaper advertisement. About 1 week before the plan was put into operation, we listed the same notice in every paper in London. Yeah, we saw that notice. It was this one, I believe, entitled "To the Red-Headed League." Oui, c'est ça. I am honored that you have seen it. It states that the only condition for joining the league is having flame-colored hair, and that if you satisfy the interview panel and are admitted into the league, you could receive a weekly income of £4. On the date specified, red-headed hopefuls gathered in droves at a park specified in the advertisement. And from each person present, this pair took on an application fee of 5 shillings. And with the money to France. It was a plan most elegant, no? No, it was most dishonorable. But to be frank, I'm stunned anybody was foolish enough to be taken by such an obvious trick. You just hear Sherlock screaming from the gallery.
The park was described by one witness as choked with red-headed folk, like a coster's orange barrow.
And the day on which all these men gathered to apply was the day before the victim was discovered. Crucially, these two men spoke face to face with every single person present that day. I said Sherlock? Fuck. I didn't even realize that I said it. God damn it, take a shot. Yeah, go ahead. It's been a minute, so I mean, it's reasonably time for it, right? Oui. I've seen more red-headed people in one day than I will see in the rest of my life.
See. And now, every time I see the couple's hair, I feel sick to my stomach.
Anyway, why have we been summoned here today? Sorry? The date for our trial was not until tomorrow, I was told. Naturally, neither of these men have been told any details about this trial. They've only been shown this photograph. Very good. So, Mr. De Rousseau and Mr. De Rossi. Rousseau, or Rousseau and Rossi. Wait, hold on. Are these just the... Hold on. French for red. Rouge. Okay, never mind. Excuse me. I thought I was being tricked. Wait, no. Oh no. Red hair is... Well, I'm not even gonna try it.
Cheveux roux.
Cheveux roux. Excuse me. Bless you. Google Translate. Formal testimony time, though. On the subject of this gentleman pictured in this photograph. Of course. We are always ready to help with Zillo. He's eating spaghetti again. Witness testimony. I really can't believe that they're doing that joke like Italian accent thing of putting -a after certain words, because it's fucking killing me, and I do not know if that is a real stereotype, like that's not one founded as a joke, right? You know? Because it just seems so preposterous, right? I don't know many native Italian speakers, right? So I don't know how real that is. But it seems like it can't be true, right? It just can't. I feel like it can't be real. However, the man in the photograph. We had more than 1,000 red-headed people assemble in the park on Lime Street that day. But I don't recall the man in this photograph. Hi, Capo? No, I don't remember him. Obviously, he is dead now, but I assure you he was not in the park. This victim has nothing to do with us. You have a lot to answer for, Peppino. It is your fault that we got caught in the first place. Given sworn testimony that the man in this photograph was not present. Can you be certain? Oui, oui. I am quite certain. We did not interview this man. Nobody looking like this came to the park. This I can promise. Must be noted that you have been arrested for grand deception, however. Accordingly, this court has little confidence in your assurances. Fa! This attitude, we get nowhere, huh? He's really as sulking now. This confidential document was obtained directly from Scotland Yard. It records an entry from the inspector's private diary dated the day before the incident. It reads Lime Street, Red-Headed League, undercover. Ah, I have the answer. Maybe there was another similar event in the park on the day in question, eh? You are right, the names are references to red hair. That's what I figured, but I don't know, cause like as we've seen, right?
Cheveux roux.
Roux, you know, R-O-U. Maybe it's red-headed, right? It is.
Rousse.
And Russa would be the male one, right? Man. Damn it. Anyway. So this is yeah, their names are their name from the red or of the redheads. That's fucked up. That's pretty funny. That is ridiculous. There's no question that Inspector Gregson was investigating the Red-Headed League. Which means it's quite possible that that's when he was killed. Very well, the defense may proceed with the cross-examination now. Yes, my lord. I do not think it's statement 4. I think this is one of the few times that it is not the second to last statement. He was not in the park. Yeah, about dead. But according to what you said, you spoke with 1,000 or more people on that day. Yes, that's true. My eyes were burning by the end of the day. Surely then you can't actually remember every single face. How are you so certain that this particular man wasn't present? Normally the red hair is very distinctive, eh? But not when you have 1,000 redheads crowding around, then it is just an eyesore. But if there was some other information you could have give us, then maybe we could recall. Also, the one thing that's fucked up about this that doesn't make much sense is if Gregson was wearing this wig, right? Wouldn't you be able to fucking tell he's not a redhead? You know what I mean? You would know that he's not a redhead. This guy wasn't undercover for shit. Also, he looks mad comfy in this picture. It looks like he's just laying down for a little bit of a nap. If there wasn't blood here, I just would assume that he was drunk. Alternatively, damn, this one is big. Thank you. All right, 26, 25, sandwich. He looks somewhat familiar somehow. Oh, Cosmo's 24. Okay, so I guess he did get himself a birthday. That's fine. Was stern and single-minded in his approach, and a great lover of fish and chips. Salutes. And everybody else, it's really unnerving to me that these two are in here, right? The Pipsqueak is 25. He's just short, bro. That is not the line, Peppino. Remember, we do not remember him. We are sure of that fact, huh? If there was a man with a red hairpiece, but his mustache did not match the color, then I do not think I could have forgotten him. Zeke is only 33, yeah. That guy is putting up buckets, and he looks like he is just old because he's pissed. Also, I'm glad they quickly addressed the fact that his mustache and sideburns and eyebrows were different colors. Cosmo said that these two had only been shown that photograph and they'd been told nothing else at all. What if I fed them just one other detail about the victim? For example, his profession, his fish and chips. Certainly appreciate that just knowing the man had red hair wouldn't help you remember in this situation. What if I told you that the man in the red hairpiece was actually a detective? The man in the photograph? A detective. Yeah. Would appear he found your notice in the paper and suspicious and decided to investigate incognito. Sorry, but this change... Are you sure about that? Because, your dumbass little friend...
Excuse me.
Something to add, Mr. De Rossi. Che? Si, I am always adding something. Parmesan, olive oil, pepper. What I mean is, do you not agree with your friend's last remark by any chance? What did he just say? About the detective? Yes, keep your mouth shut, Peppino. You have said enough already. But why, Capo? What is the problem? There was a man who said, I am Inspector from Scotland Yard. What? Good lord. According to my Google search, the stereotype of Italians putting a vowel sound at the end of English words is due to Italian words never ending in consonants. I know no Italians to confirm or deny this. Right, and that makes sense, right? Like, if in your language there's no words that end, or usually no words or few words that end in hard consonant, right? Then yeah, that would be a thing, right? But it feels weird to me that because it's not like
it's not like when you're like speaking like that's not even like an accent, right? Because like with something like you know, like I know Filipino people that pronounce their P's as B's and vice versa, right? I know some people that say their V's like F's, right? That's like an accent thing, right? That's impartial, right? Because when you read a P or a B, you can pronounce it in different ways, right? But adding something onto the end, that seems like it's a little much. You know what I mean? Order, order, order. Explain this volte-face in your testimony, witness. It's simple. A man who was... There was no such man. I die! What are you saying, Capo? Have you forgotten? I've forgotten nothing. Nobody's like this came to the park. Basta, Capo, basta! You beat me at the many things, but not the two. Memory and the meals. Like I said, when it is time to eat at the pot... Fucking eat at the pot! Oh, I'm gonna scream! No one is a faster. But you are inferior to me in every other way, so shut up!
Objection!
Just fucking everybody slam. Then cut to the judge and he's banging his gavel. Oh, that would have been hilarious. Frutar, the damage is done. Indeed it is, sir. Oui, there was a man who came to the park and he said he was an inspector from Scotland Yard. However, he looked nothing like the man in the photograph. He was someone else. How can you be so sure? He's fucking lying. Because to start with, his face was completely different. See, it's true, it's true. The man who came was a younger. His face was clean shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner. No resemblance whatsoever then. Anyway, I was not going to be fooled. I took the obvious precaution and said to him, if you are really a detective, then show us the proof. See, the capo here, he doesn't take a no nonsense, eh? But he was well prepared. He said he had identification. Identification? You mean official police inspector's identification? That is most unconvincing. Sorry, my lord. Counsel, no incognito inspector would offer his identification for inspection. It's quite out of the question. Definitely. Why would he expose his true identity? Clearly the papers were fake. Certo, capo, you are a genius! As we say in Italia, it takes a thief to recognize another, eh? And what happened after he announced that he was a detective? It became very annoying. He said, you are under investigation. So I took his papers from him and chased him out of the park. It was fantastico! And look, here is the identification. So you stole it from the man? He had it coming! He made us very scared. But he was not who he said he was. Indeed, the person described does not appear to have been behaved as a true inspector would. However, I believe it would be prudent for these identification papers to be entered into evidence. But I like them. Alright, dickheads. Now, let us return to the witness's testimony after a brief look at this fucking identification. Open it up. Well, I suppose we should see what this inspector's identification looks like inside. No picture. No bloodstain. 997 is the ID number. It definitely looks fake, doesn't it?
of interest, what name is given? Probably just something plucked out of the air. It's Tobias Gregson. Wait, what? This Scotland Yard insignia looks genuine to me. But how? And the department identification number details are all correct as well. Whatever you know knows. Do you mean to say... I know it seems incredible, but yes. I think this is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. But that's unbelievable. This is the real thing after all? Okay. It's Gregson's. Okay, so let's look at our people. Actually, let me go back and let's look at the history. What did they say exactly about him? The man had... His face was clean shaven, his eyes were sadder, his chin was thinner. Zero shot at Sholmes. Everybody with a mustache is out of the question. I was gonna say maybe Strongheart, but no, that's out of the question. Surely not, right? Because they would have said something. You son of a bitch. You know we're looking for you, right? Your wife is worried sick. And that's why the framed photo of his wife was in the room. Idiot. So again, what I think's going on here is specifically with Vigil, right? What I think's going on here is male Strongheart. Obviously, we know we're under the impression that he's trying to cover up the Professor murders, right? And Daily Vigil, who was the chief warder of Barclay Prison during the Professor murders. It is my belief that Mr. Vigil helped cover up the murder, right? Under orders of Lord Strongheart. Strongheart is keeping him on the payroll. Even his wife was under the impression that he was still the chief warder, but he hasn't been the chief warder for 10 years. So obviously he's receiving a handsome, like salary almost to keep quiet, right? His wife says that he disappeared a couple days ago, right? A day before the body of Gregson was found, right? Not only that, you have to keep in mind that at the place that we found Gregson's body, there was a framed photo of his wife in these abandoned lodgings, right? Where nobody is said to be living, except for one person using a pseudonym for a name, Mr. Hugh Boone, right? Which we got told is essentially like John Doe, right? It's a fake ass name, right? So with that, Vigil killed him, but why? Now, let us return to the witness's testimony. Laura, this victim is nothing to do with us. I just wanted to say it. Because it just makes sense. The victim... Okay, so if you guys say that he got his shit presented to you, right? Was Gregson actually researching the Professor killings? Probably. That's probably what he was working on. That was probably what was top secret. I wonder if I could ask you to examine this identification book very closely. Miss Lestrade. Why, Miss Lestrade? What is your intention here, Counsel? Is this really a fake, or is it genuine? That's the question, which we can't answer ourselves.
Objection!
Don't be ridiculous. No Scotland Yard detective would allow his or her identification to be stolen. That is the boss's. No question about it. Can't be. As I suspected. The undercover detective who attended the Red-Headed League's enrollment on that day in question was the real Inspector Gregson, carrying out an incognito investigation. I don't even think that's true. Lord. Box. I love Box. I love the fact that if we have a short person presenting in court, every time we get a cut back away to the full shot of the courtroom, there's just a box. It's my favorite. Don't you think they would have had something a little bit more easy, right? Well, if the boss had his identification stolen, he would have reported it straight away. I mean, he was always on me about it. If you lose some out, report it at once, he'd say. Could it be, then, that the inspector was physically unable to report it? Physically? What are you saying? Unable to. You're not suggesting. Yes, it's quite possible that he was killed before he had the chance to report his ID stolen. No. Cosmo's got a good damage sprite. Order, order, order. The defense posits that the victim was killed the day before his body was discovered at a different location. Do you two have anything to say about that? I know nothing. I done nothing. Pull yourself together, Peppino. Mon Dieu, you can behave a little more like a master criminal than that, no? Now I wish I had a return to Italia. Stop crying, Peppino, please. Otherwise, I... Stop your whining and stop talking. Well, I believe the court will need to hear. I know nothing. I done nothing. But you will tell everything, or face the worst possible outcome. Dry your eyes and testify again about these identification papers and the precise circumstances under which you came by them. Crying out loud. Get it? Crying out loud. I'll be here all week. The detective and the ID. The truth is, we took him prisoner and kept him for the night in our secret hideout. Even though I didn't think he was a real detective, I was too scared to let him go that day, just in case. We took the man's ID from him and shut him in the room next to ours. There might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. He spent the night in a nice room. It was nothing like prison, really. This is outrageous. You imprisoned the man? What? No, see, no! It was not like a real prison. He was a very comfortable and a calm and a happy. I couple? It was never part of my plan. I swear it. So you think it was my fault, eh? Just because I got the date of the ferry wrong. Only by one little day. I do not think it was your fault, Peppino. I know it. No. Por favore, capo. It is not fair. You shall have plenty of time for squabbling back at prison, gentlemen. Ooh, I don't believe this. How could he have been a real detective? Counsel for the defense, proceed with the cross-examination. So on the day before the incident, Gregson spent the night confined in his pair's hideout. Second to last, I feel. Might have been a little tussle, but we did him no harm, and the next morning we let him go. Talk to us about this tussle.
Hold it!
What do you mean by a little tussle exactly? Boof. It was nothing. Just a minor incident. The fella saw Inspector. He was a real piece of the work. I capo? What happened? It was a disaster. We give him nice room, and what does he do with it? In the middle of the night, he tries to escape through the ventilore. Can you blame him? We chased him, bien sûr, and we caught him again. Can you blame us? Yeah, actually, you fucking moron. Wait, you didn't shoot the man in your haste, did you? Who do you think we are? Of course not. I simply caught hold of him again and took him back to the...
Excuse me.
Mr. De Rossi, is something wrong? Me? Something Mr. De Russo said seemed to make you, well, it seemed to make you act even more strangely than usual. What was that all about? Rolo, at times like this, you don't want to have the capo after you, believe me. And I speak of from personal experienza. Personal experience? That is enough, Pepino. There is no need to say more. The truth is, the night before we put the Red-Headed League plan into action, I was scared. It was not fair to the capo, but I tried to run away. It's a shame you didn't manage it. But the capo here, he came after me like a turbine, huh? And he dragged me back to the house, kicking and screaming. I still have the bruises to prove it. I capo? Bruises, you say? Ah, you want to see, huh? You want to see my fantastico bruises? That's enough now, Peppino. No one wants to look at any part of you. What to do, huh? I assure you, or I don't. I assure you, or I don't. You do, now. Laura, if everybody wants to see, then I do it. Go, you see? It's still very visible, that red ring around your neck. You got that when you were dragged back to the house? See, the capo sometimes he is a very rough, and I said that's enough. Peppino's neck is nothing to do with what we are talking about here. You have my word. Yeah. What is your opinion, Counsel? About this red ring around Mr. De Rossi's neck? I wonder, does it matter? It's fucking important. Mr. De Rossi, I'm going to have to ask you to amend your testimony with details about that mark on your neck. Aye, capo, you see, everyone is interested in what I say, huh? Also, Gregson didn't have a ring around his neck either. If we look, no bruising. Anyway. Bro, he's putting niggas in his Scorpion Deathlock. That's crazy. See, if you really want to know. But we know someone else who did. Yeah, the point is, at this juncture in time, we know that Gregson wasn't the person that they captured. Right? That's what I'm saying.
Objection.
So the day before his body was discovered, Inspector Gregson was taken prisoner while working incognito. No, it was not like that. It was hardly a prison. It was an invitation to stay. It was only. However you describe it, there's one glaring inconsistency that remains. What inconsistency is this, Counsel? I would ask the court to look closely at this photograph of the victim, Inspector Gregson. You will see that there is no red ring visible around his neck.
But that makes no sense. It was me who took the collar of the man in the morning. And I saw the red bruises on his neck, just like I have.
Given that the mark is still clearly visible on this witness's neck, we'd expect to see bruising on the victim, who was put in the collar more recently than Mr. De Rossi.
Indeed. That is most peculiar. But what we tell you, huh? We said this from the beginning, many times.
Oui, Peppino is right. The man in the photograph is someone different than the man we held captive that night.
Order, order, order.
It would appear then that on the day before the incident, the man who visited the park on Lime Street posing as an incognito inspector was not Inspector Gregson at all.
Objection!
If that's true, however, then how do you explain the inspector's identification? This is a genuine identification book issued by Scotland Yard. It's inconceivable that someone could have stolen such an important item from the inspector. The prosecution made that assertion itself.
And we also know that the inspector had made a note about the Red-Headed League in his diary for that day, which surely means we can't divorce the two events completely.
The inconsistency noted by the defense is most troubling. If it were the real Inspector Gregson whom these two red-headed gentlemen encountered, the fact that no bruising can be seen around his neck defies explanation. But equally, if they actually encountered an
Oh man, they can't fucking escape. Oh no.
How did that person come to be in possession of the real inspector's identification?
Does the defense have some possible explanation, counsel?
The whole thing defies explanation.
It is precisely these occasions that we keep meticulous notes in the court record, Mr. Naruhodo. Because those are the facts, and the facts cannot lie.
No, the facts can't lie. Even when they point to something so incredible, it's almost unbelievable.
Hold on.
Well, my lord, the true identity of the person who turned up in the park for the Red-Headed League's enrollment is revealed by information in the court record, I believe.
Gracious.
Very tantalizing, Mr. Naruhodo. So why don't you help us all to see whatever truth it is that you've apparently seen? Who exactly was this inspector that appeared before Mr. DeRusso and Mr. De Rossi? Though it seems incredible, I admit, the undeniable facts only point to one thing. Since no bruising can be seen on the victim's neck, the person who these two red-headed men took prisoner that day cannot have been Inspector Gregson. In other words, your whole argument up till now has been a waste of time.
Objection!
On the contrary, I haven't finished.
What?
There's no bruising on the victim's neck, so the question immediately posed next is, who exactly was this man in the park on Lime Street found to be carrying Inspector Gregson's identification?
See, that's right. We tell the same story every time. Whoever this man was, the couple dragged him from the pillar to a post with a dog collar.
Mon Dieu, Peppino, I was not so harsh as you say, huh?
So, who was that falso inspector, eh?
Who was he? Clearly, the defense has an idea about that. About the true identity of the man these two imprisoned that night. Must ask the counsel for the defense to elaborate post haste. Who did the witnesses encounter in the park posing as Inspector Gregson? What? Fuck. I almost clicked on somebody else. I like that they actually have his, the bruising around his neck, too. Because you can't really see it on, oh, you can. You can. Never mind.
Take that!
I didn't notice it before. That's me. That's all on me. Goodness me. Isn't that... one of the witnesses who was in the stand in this very courtroom earlier today. A nameless man whose only occupation appears to be peddling hearsay to passers-by.
Objection!
What on earth would a street seller be doing with the police inspector's identification papers? Witnesses! Is this the man or not? What's happened to his lip? Huh? See, this man is not for the Red-Headed League, eh? He's looking like the Twisted Lip League, no? Perhaps, rather than making such a rash claim next time, you should bite your lip instead. It seems improbable, yes, but one undeniable fact remains. During his testimony earlier, I noted something around the man's neck. Red ring of bruising. What? The defense demands that Mr. Gossip be brought back to the stand. Order, order. Bailiff. Bring the aforementioned witness back into the courtroom. Immediately. You fucking idiot. I never. An undeniable ring of bruising indeed. And identical to that of the witness beside him.
Now what's going on here, eh? I've always had this ring. It's a birthmark, innit?
A birthmark, you say? I assume the reason you've been recalled to the stand has been explained to you.
Oh, yeah, something about that inspector again. But I'm telling you, you got it all wrong as usual.
You're denying all knowledge of it?
Well, of course I am. You're trying to kill me with all this nonsense, eh?
Well, at least you'll have more stories to peddle back on Fresno Street, won't you? Now, we're going to need you to testify again. And you, Mr. DeRusso and Mr. DeRossi, I'm sure you'll cooperate, won't you? Do we have any choice?
We are in bigger trouble, eh, couple?
That's quite enough dilatory chatter. Proceed with the testimony. Inspector and the identification revisited. The man who claimed to be an inspector that day was definitely not this man. That's right, you think we forget these grand lips? Never leave Fresno Street, alright? I have no interest in any red-headed league. I'm all alone in the world, mean? I have no kinfolk or nothing. Why would I be involved in something like that? So let me just keep note of something. Aside from the big-ass lips, which obviously are the point of contention here, cleft chin, bushy eyebrows... not really. I could see it, but not really, right? The hairstyle is similar, yeah, but the eyebrows don't really look one-to-one. It would certainly appear that we have the wrong man. What have I been telling you, huh? There was no need for this pointless testimony.
That's right. I'm just a civil peddler, remember? Fresno Street's all I know. All that comes by a police inspector's identification book, eh?
Well, yeah, that's hard to explain, but... Brief cross-examination, I think, counsel. Very brief. Isn't there anyone in this courtroom who thinks I might be onto something? I stand steadfastly at your side as always, Mr. Naruhodo. Alright. Not second to last. Never leave Fresno Street? No interest in any Red-Headed League?
Hold it!
Never leave, huh? You've lived there your whole life. So, you've never heard of the Red-Headed League, had you?
No good name like gossip for nothing, right? It's my business to know what's going on in town. Sold that nasty little tidbit to a few fair redheads that came past me. That's between us, I ain't got sandwich to cough up for it.
Well, he does have a very red nose, if that counts. Who knows? Get it, nose?
But as you can see, my own hair's not got a hint of red in it. In any case, Fresno Street's my patch. You won't catch me sliding onto some other part of town. No, sir, no.
So,
Well then.
excuse me.
Mr. DeRusso. Oui. Can I help you? Did Mr. Gossip's word just now lead you to remember something relevant, perhaps? It was the other day, when I was looking for a place near the park. A small house or something. Could be the headquarters of your Red-Headed League, yes. I visited an housing agent on Lime Street, and there I saw him. This man was paying money to the agent.
What?
Mr. Gossip with a housing agent. Oui. He had some kind of contract in his hand, and they were clearly discussing terms.
No, you're mistaken, Joe. I've never left Fresno Street with me. Like I said before. You're mistaken me for someone else. Someone with the same face.
No, the capo is right. I remember it too. He was paying the man with the banknotes.
With notes.
Like I said, that wasn't me.
I was curious why this man with dirty clothes had so much money. So I looked at the name on the papers.
And what name was written? Mr. Gossip?
No, this man, he lies. He tells you that he has no name. But in fact, his name is Hugh Boone, huh? He's better than Mr. Gossip, I think.
Oh, got him.
I'm a peddler of tidbits of information, like I said, on Fresno Street. And that's that. I don't watch that crook talking about my personal life.
Indeed. And it is not the intention of the court to invade of the privacy of the witnesses? Very well, I shall respect your wishes, sir. The aforementioned name shall be redacted from all court records of this trial. Assuming no objections.
Objection!
Fuck yourself. I'm sorry, my lord, but the defense does object. Because the name just mentioned has a very deep significance to this case. Gracious! Do you similarly projector Asogi? He just shows very cool, clear pictures on walls that are blank. As it happens, my lord, that particular name has already been mentioned during today's proceedings. Well, I never! In what capacity?
Hugh Boone. The name of the leaseholder of the room.
Let me put this very simply. The victim's body was discovered in your rented room. Suggest, sir, that you start talking.
Well, alright. I suppose that might be the case, eh?
So your real name is Hugh Boone.
Just between us, I like to roll me on trumpet, but there's no finer peddler in tidbits of this town. So, I happen to be afforded my little grumpy little room in a falling down backstreet townhouse.
You do?
Once every 6 months, I go and pay the rent to the agent on Line Street. I remember it now. There were 2 vocal redheads in there last time.
Aye, if either one of us is a vulgar, it's not a me.
Think again, Pepino. Why didn't you bring this up before?
It's like I told you already. I don't like talking about my personal life. I'm a tidbit peddler as far as everyone else is concerned, no fuss.
You will update your testimony to include this most surprising revelation, Mr. Boone.
If I must.
The leaseholder Scotland Yard has been looking for since the body was discovered. Has been here under our noses all along. Rented the room where that fellow was found, it's true, for what difference it makes. I'm all alone in the world, me, you've no kinfolk or nothing.
Objection.
You sure about that? If you have no kinfolk, as you put it, then explain why this is among the sparse furnishings. Why is it that among the sparse furnishings we found this photograph in the room? I presume, as you've been renting the room, that this photograph belongs to you, does it not?
Oh, well...
Mr. Boone, drop the pretense and tell the court exactly who you really are. Here we go.
I don't know what you mean. I'm a peddler. I keep telling you so. You really don't need to bother with me. Please, just leave it alone.
As the man says, leave it alone. Whatever the truth about this man's life, it has no bearing on this case. Because it's simply not possible that he impersonated Inspector Gregson.
Objection.
How can you be so sure? Just look at the man. No amount of disguise could ever hide those unmissable features. But what if we were able to look at this the other way around? What do you mean? Yes, counsel, what do you mean? Well, there's no denying that Mr. Boone's lip is very prominent indeed. But consider the possibility that his prominent lip itself is part of an elaborate disguise. And hiding that prominent feature, in other words, revealing his true face, would make an utterly impenetrable disguise. Wouldn't you agree? I really wish he said his name there. Could you imagine if he said his name there? Fuck, that would be sick. Because they're gonna make me present it as always, but holy shit, that would have been amazing. If Ryunosuke said his real name right there, fuck, that would have been great. With the actual, like, fucking pursuit theme kicking in too, that would, oh, it's one line change away. Witness, are you still hiding the truth from this court?
If that's a disguise, then underneath it is his true identity must be.
Or his true identity must be. Yeah, that's right. There's really only one person he could really be. My lord, the defense believes that it can reveal Mr. Boone's true identity to the court.
No, please, no.
Very well then, counsel. What is the true identity of this peddler who goes by the name of Gossip on the street? Gotcha, nigga. Like, look at these two, man. That's actually a pretty good, like, look at the big-ass bushy eyebrows. His eyes look visibly different. This cleft chin where he doesn't have one right here, that's pretty good. Your real name is actually Mr. Vigil, isn't it? Mr. Daily Vigil. I don't recall that name, Counsel. Who is this Mr. Vigil? It's a name I encountered yesterday, my lord. It has to do with a certain client of Mr. Herlock Sholmes. A young gentlewoman came to the detective asking him to locate her missing husband. The woman in this photograph, in fact. This is Mrs. Vigil. What? From what I understand, you haven't returned home since the night before the inspector was found dead. But of course, on that night, you were being held captive by the two red-headed League men. And last night you were put up by the prosecution service in preparation for testifying in this trial. Because we'd been led to believe that you, Miss Venus, and Mr. Sandwich were all homeless. Give me just one second, I'm getting a phone call. Alright, sorry about that. Where were we? Being important witnesses in this case, we needed to know where we could find you, of course. And that explains why you've not only been unable to return home, but also unable to contact your wife. Who's been beside herself with worry, waiting for you at the Vigil residence.
Now, you just hold on a minute.
What I'm talking about, really. It's a simple enough matter to confirm my suspicions. All we have to do is pull off that disguise.
No, please!
Bailiff, bring soap, a sponge, and a washbowl at once. Mr. DeRusso and Mr. DeRossi, you will restrain the witness.
Oui, my lord.
Si, my lord. Get fucked.
No, stop, get off, please! Don't!
Got him. I'll give him that. It was a decent disguise. Well, we are now seeing your true features, I presume. Who gave him a suit? What happened? Lift your head, sir, so the court can see your face. It would appear that the defense counsel's assertion was entirely correct. This has all been a very elaborate deception. So, witnesses, tell the court. You've seen this man before.
I don't believe it, but... see, there is no question. This is the inspector we saw in the park.
Extraordinary. On the day of the Red-Headed League's enrollment, the man claiming to be Inspector Gregson who appeared before Mr. DeRusso and Mr. DeRossi in the park was you, disguised as the inspector. Or rather, was you posing as the inspector in no disguise at all. Mr. Vigil was formerly employed as the chief warder at Barclay Prison. Chief warder? Then your career had promise. Why you would quite possibly become the future governor of the prison. It was prison governor, okay. What on earth have you been doing peddling tittle-tattle on Fresno Street? Well, it's been 10 years since Mr. Vigil worked at the prison. 10 years. really dreadfully sorry about all of this. Yes, it's true. I am daily vigil. And you were the chief warder at Barclay Prison 10 years ago. So where did Mr. Hugh Boone come from? Boone is the other me. It's a name I invented. Well, evidently there is a great deal under the surface here. I'll explain everything. I'll tell you just how wretched my life has become. As you say, it was 10 years ago now that my employment at Barclay's chief warder came to an end. Having left the prison service, I searched for some new occupation by which to earn a wage. Times were hard in London, and I found no suitable engagements at all. In desperation one day, I turned my hand at selling wares on Fresno Street. But your wife appears to know nothing of this. She still maintains that you're the chief warder at Barclay Prison. I was utterly determined that my wife should not know of my failings, which is why I never told her. I opened an account at the bank under the name of Hugh Boone, and I rented the cheapest room I could find on Fresno Street. The scene of the very crime we're investigating. Yes, that's right. I'm so glad I don't have to put my fucking pinky in my mouth anymore. A place from which I could emerge every morning at 8 as a squalid peddler. Transform myself back every evening at 5 into a well-dressed man about town before returning home. That quickly became my daily routine. The song is a slowed-down remix of the lobby theme. I can hear the notes, yeah. Was puzzled by the lack of furniture in the room. That explains it. But why on earth didn't you just tell us this in the first place? I have a wife, sir, and 2 sons. So you'll be fucking. Without wishing to sound self-conceited, they regard me with some pride. I couldn't bring myself to disappoint them. So instead you decided to conceal your occupation from them? Yes. I've made such a terrible mess of everything. Still, one thing doesn't add up. No matter how many tidbits of information you could sell to passing gentlemen, even at 6 pence apiece, you couldn't hope to match the salary you must have commanded as chief warder at the prison. Very true. To have kept your family in comfort despite 10 years of somewhat misbegotten employment. That was all thanks to Inspector Gregson. What? Inspector Gregson? What on earth? Some years after I invented Boone and begun my other life as a street seller. The inspector, that is, recognized me one day. You mean to say the victim was an acquaintance of yours? Knew him from my time working at the prison. Gregson! When he saw what I'd become, he was deeply troubled for me and my family. And from that day forward, he visited me on Fresno Street with increasing regularity. And one day, he asked me if I would carry out a secret assignment for him. What the fuck was... I was to impersonate the inspector. What? Impersonate him? We always met in that little room so the inspector could brief me. Yep. It was always something along those lines. Surveillance work, interviewing people. On those occasions, he would lend me his identification so people would believe who I was. I don't trust this man worth a damn. My instructions were to make an impression, to let people know that Gregson had been at work. For those services, he compensated me financially. A Scotland Yard inspector willingly relinquished his identification into your care with intent to deceive. That, as I'm sure I need not point out, is a very serious criminal offense. Why? What was the point of you impersonating him? I truthfully do not know. All I can say is that the inspector warned me on numerous occasions. Now remember, Vigil, I need your solemn word. You don't blab about this to anyone, alright? Ever. Even if, well, if I end up a croaker. In time, he started to bring papers with him to the room as well. It became something of a second office for him. So, in fact, the person who declared himself to be Inspector Gregson at the park on Lime Street was really... Yes, it was me, acting on the inspector's orders. As usual, I removed my boon disguise, and then went as instructed to the park, armed with the inspector's identification book. It never occurred to me that the bruise on my neck might give me away. I don't believe him. Also, we still haven't solved the murder. It feels like we've approached the, the conclusion of this part, but we have not solved the murder. Seema's confession completely destroys the defense's case. Explain yourself, Prosecutor Asogi. My learned friend's assertion was as follows. The victim was killed at another location on the day before his corpse was discovered. At the hands of these two red-headed League men when they imprisoned the inspector. You're a huge bitch. But no, that can't be. After all, it wasn't the inspector who went to the park that day. It was me. 1 second. A for effort. Yeah, I mean, like, he's slapping the bench, I guess, but, like, is he, you know? Oh, goodness. Finally, we have clarity. We had nothing to do with the murder of the inspector. And merci, Monsieur de la Défense, for proving it. What? Ah, fuck. He's just European, yeah. Love that song. Order, order, order. Indeed, it would appear that we have reached a de facto conclusion of sorts. These witnesses had no involvement in the murder of the victim. As proven, somewhat ironically, by the defense. I hereby call an end to the cross-examination.
Hold it!
Ah! Oh, let's go! Is this new? Is this like a mash? Ah, it would be sick if this was a mashup of Kazuma and Van Zeek's theme. That would be great. Pardon me, my lord, but with your permission, I'd like to pose one further question to the witness. Kazuma? What question, counsel? It concerns the events of 10 years ago. I believe you would have been present at a very significant execution that was carried out at the time. 10 years ago? The execution of the professor. Genshin Asogi. There's that leitmotif. I want to know exactly what your involvement was. Answer me, man. One moment, Counsel. Is this related to the current case? Naturally. It is the prosecution's belief that this case and the events of 10 years ago are inextricably linked. Does the defense concur, Counsel? Azuma, not yourself. Not as calm and collected as usual.
Poor Kazuma. No wonder he's acting this way. Mr. Vigil's memory of what exactly happened 10 years ago would tell the tale of Genshin Asogi's last moments. His own father.
I know. I do understand that, but even so... Prosecutor Asogi, do you genuinely believe that this question requires an answer in order to learn the truth behind Inspector Gregson's death? I need you to trust me. Please. Very well. The defense has no objection. I see. In that case, you will answer the question, witness. Truth is, I remember very little of that time. Forgotten? I'm sorry to say yes. As I said, I resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. For some peculiar reason, my memory of the events leading up to that moment is extremely hazy.
Does that not strike you as strange, Mr. Naruhodo?
Sorry?
Well, 10 years ago is a long time, but you have forgotten the reason why he's left such an important job.
Yeah, you're right. Only that. Mr. Vigil's claim contradicts what we already know. The human spirit is a fragile thing. It's broken all too easily. Which is why we have a tendency to wrap it up for protection. Kazuma, you could have said anything else other than that. Sorry, the human spirit? I'm afraid I don't understand what you mean. When we experience pain and suffering that we feel unable to bear, we block it out, obliterate it from our memories, seal it away. But it never truly leaves us. If the seal is broken, the memories resurface. And when they do, fragile spirit may finally be crushed. But I really don't...
Kazuma.
But if it must be crushed, then so be it. Because the truth will not stay buried. It's coming out, one way or another. Right. Now I understand. It's clear what his intentions are. He means to expose the truth, at any cost. Perhaps if I pointed out the contradiction in what Mr. Vigil claimed earlier, it might cause some crucial memories to return to him. But should I? Should I present the evidence or not? How is this even a question? Fuck him. No idea how this is going to go. But this is a court of law, and I have a duty to pursue the truth. Mr. Vigil, I'd like you to take a look at this. Evidence that clearly contradicts your version of events.
Take that!
Just a few moments ago, you made the following statement. Resigned from my role at the prison 10 years ago. Well, yes. In other words, You claim to have left the post of Chief Warder of your own volition.
Well, yes, of course. Why?
Tell me. Do you remember seeing this document before?
No, I don't.
This is a dismissal notice ordering the immediate termination of a prison staff member's employment. Dismissal notice. And the name on the notice is yours, Mr. Vigil.
What? It's mine?
So you didn't resign from the prison service at all. For some reason, you were dismissed as Chief Warder from Barclay.
No, there's been some mistake. I'm sure. I'm sure I tendered my resignation. Dismissal notice is nonsense.
My head, Shaw!
Isn't it?
If you were forcibly dismissed, there must have been good reason. Clearly, you did something. Mr. Vigil, it's time to break the seal and have you remember. Eerie music, very nice. Black Cyclops are the only Black Cyclops in the game that you never actually get to solve, by the way, but the only Black Cyclops were Kristoff's and Athena's, right? When she was remembering what happened to her mom. And then obviously Kristoff in prison going, "Fuck you, you ain't getting shit." And we never got to break any of them. It wouldn't be nice to see those return as like a solvable thing that you need bigger logic leaps. Like if a red Cyclops indicates like just a normal Cyclops, black Cyclops would indicate like the logic needed to solve this is pretty fucking crazy. I would like that. You know, kind of like a back route for investigation in a future game, where it's like you can solve the red Cyclops and follow along the case normally, but if you break a black Cyclops, then it's like, oh, you're sequence jumping, right? And I trust you remember that there are consequences to removing them haphazardly, and Cosmo was like, fuck that, tell me what happened. Athena's broke? I thought Athena's like just went away. I don't think they broke. They opened, right? Because with other Cyclops, you break them. But Athena, once she like works herself through the trauma, right, with her and Black Quill, she remembers it and they just open. The final execution that you supervised was on the 17th of June, 10 years ago. On that day, something very serious took place at Barclay Prison. 17th of June. What was that? The professor's execution? Sir? As you were the chief warder at the time, it stands to reason that you would have been present throughout the proceedings.
It does sound familiar.
And yet, that execution never took place. The convict, ostensibly executed earlier that day, re-emerged from his grave.
The convict came back to life.
In the cemetery in the middle of the night, there was a witness.
However, the witness claims that a moment after he saw the convict clambering out of his grave, a gunshot rang out from over his shoulder, and the bullet pierced the professor's chest, killing him instantly. Those may have been the professor's actual last moments.
Yes. Yes. Seeing as you were in charge of overseeing executions at the time, you must know the truth about what really happened. It's in your head, somewhere deep down. Well, Chief Warder Daily Vigil, I know there are memories in your head that can explain what happened on the 17th of June 10 years ago. And now it's time for you to drag them up. Mr. Vigil? Yes, the whole prison was complete chaos. Chaos? The prisoner escaped, was killed in the cemetery. The shocking news ripped through Buckley like a hurricane. What? What? Order! 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 Do you mean to say, Mr. Vigil, that your memories of the time have returned? My head... It's like some floodgates have been opened. The images, the screams.
Oh, my goodness.
The papers. There were reports, articles about a man who'd seen a ghost. Yes, Enoch Drebber. But surely those reports were exaggerated. No. Oh, I thought he was going to say no. There were traces at the scene.
Traces of what?
In Logate Cemetery, at plot number 139. Blood. Lots of blood. That's where the man was buried, of course. Obviously, something terrible had happened there. The depths of conspiracy and depravity from which this tale is emerging are quite staggering. I've reviewed the police records from that time extensively. A thorough investigation was conducted by Scotland Yard to ascertain how the convict managed to escape in the first place. And the conclusion reached by the investigating team was that a member of the prison staff must have been involved. Are you suggesting that prison warder abetted the man's bid for freedom? Yes. Yes, and I was suspected of doing it. Of using that mass murderer's execution as a way to help him escape. You did what? I remember now. The horror of it is all coming back to me. One evening, a few days after the execution, some detectives came to the prison. I was called to the governor's office at the top of the watchtower. Sorry, Daly, but this is a serious business. I can help you now. As a chief warder, you were responsible for overseeing the execution of Foray. Well, it seems the fellas at Scotland Yard want to have a few wee words with you about it. You'd better pack your things, laddie. You're to attend in person. As soon as he told me that, my mind just went completely blank. And the next thing I knew, Professor, the most hated killer in our country's history. I let him escape. Finished. My life is over. Woo! Order, or bailiff, fetch a doctor at once. Court is adjourned for today with immediate effect.
So, with Mr. Vigil's collapse, proceedings came to an abrupt end for the day.
Lee, get it? They
Once again overshadowed by the legacy of that notorious killer, appearing like a cursed ghost ship on a foggy ocean. Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Vigil, Kazuma, and Gregson. All of them bound by invisible chains anchored to the same wreckage in the murky depths of the past. But the miraculous light that had been trying to cut through the gloom and shine on those tragic events was playing on the edges of the truth at last.
To be continued. Yeah, I was about to say no way in hell. All right. Perfect. I think that's a great spot to end. We have been going pretty well. I assume that we're going to be getting a, what's the word? Another investigation here. Yeah. Next part is very long. Well, that's good, because we're ending right now anyways. But this was super cool. I really like the inclusion of Kazuma now. Being like his attitude is very like he's very headstrong in going into this, right? So he is he's very much like, yeah, fuck the nonsense. I really could give a fuck less about Van Zeeks. You know why I'm here, right? Like that's to me at least how his personality feels coming into the court as the prosecutor, right? So with that, and like we got through all the bullshit just so he could get to Vigil, right? Which I feel was very nice. The music changes for him were very good. Like I said, the only one thing that I would change right now is that that moment where you call out Gossip by his name. I really wish, because of the buildup with the pursuit theme, and then when you say that line, he cuts, or the game cuts to the full pursuit theme. I really wish he would have just said Mr. Daily Vigil. That would have been a fucking sick, like just immediate, like, punch, right? That would have been great. But otherwise, I'm still really enjoying it. The trial, as it's proceeding thus far, you know, as with a lot of Ace Attorney things, we've kind of progressed past the original point of the case, and we are now moving into, aha, big mystery time. Ooh, you know, like that seems to be what's going on. But for the time being, I'd like to thank you all very much for coming out. Tomorrow we're probably going to be playing a little bit more Genshin, and then on what's that day? Wednesday we'll be continuing this, assuming that Tito does not, let me double check before I say anything. Tito's campaign has not said anything, okay. But we're now looking to start up Mikey's campaign again on Thursday, so not Sunday. So on Thursday we might be taking a hiatus. But for now, tomorrow we will be playing some more Genshin, no Asogi. But for now, thank you all very much for coming out. I do want to give a shout out over to Kev for sticking with us, Tonberry Kev25 for the 3 months, Mike Wahlberg for popping in and continuing the support for the 2 months, and then NC Hammer for the gift over to Strumbold. Is it supposed to be Strumbold? I don't know. It's Strum. You're just Strum for the time being. So thank you all again for coming out tonight. Shout out you guys for sticking with us. I'll see you guys tomorrow, but until then, you guys take it easy. Peace.